And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, January 18th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by No House Advantage. We've got a 9-game slate ahead of us for today. A lot of news has come in that we were waiting on from this morning. So a little bit of a different idea of what's going on for today. Tons to break down, so I don't want to waste any words. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, the notification bell, so you know when everything goes live. Thank you to Jorge. Thank you to, I knew it was Jorge. I don't know the other one. Thank you to Braden. 40 gifted subs in chat before we even get started. It's a great way to get it done, right, Adam?
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely listening to what you were talking about.
Exactly. The man of few words here. We got some news throughout the day, so we can talk about this slate a little bit different. Like, we created some value. We have no Rudy Gobert. We know what's going on with the Clippers to an extent at this point in time. So I think we've got a little bit more that we can talk about now. We know that we have a lot to talk about. You ready to dive in?
Yeah, and should be nice because, like you said, it's a different show than this morning.
So first game up, Atlanta Hawks, 2.5-point dogs in Dallas, 233.5 total. This Hawks team is at full strength. They are basically pulling no ownership in this game. 5.7% to DeAndre Hunter is the high mark right now. Atlanta is 9th in pace this year. Dallas is 29th. So this is not exactly a great matchup from a pace perspective. I don't really see anything on Atlanta that I want other than just simple GPP pivots.
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. That's how it was this morning, and I think it's more of the same here. Probably even in some regards a little bit more difficult to get to them than it was this morning because we did get a couple plays really opening up. The Clippers, we got Kawhi confirmed out. We got Gobert out. So now you just have Naz Reid taking up a bunch of ownership. But that's not to say that, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray can't go out there and have big games. We know that they can. They're both around 5% owned. So here and there in a lineup, they're going to make sense. But in terms of overall exposure, I don't think you're really going to get to them all that much. Then you have the less exciting guys, Bogdan Bogdanovic, John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, whoever is starting at center between Okongwu and Capella. None of them are overly good point per minute guys with Trae Young in and with DeJounte Murray in. But in particular, Bogdanovic, Collins, Hunter, they are in that like 5 to 6K price range with some semblance of forward eligibility. For Bogdanovic, it's shooting guard, small forward. For Hunter, it's small forward, power forward. For Collins, it's power forward, center, where they're going to be sort of interesting pivots away from spots where we are getting a lot of ownership. But the reason they're not getting more ownership is this extremely slow-paced matchup and the fact that none of them are particularly good on a point per minute basis for as long as Trae Young is active.
I wish I had more to add here. I mentioned it was Hunter that was at 5.7%. It's actually Trae Young that's at 5.7%. That changes absolutely nothing about what really came out of my mouth, but just wanted to fix that one. Dallas is slightly different. Tim Hardaway Jr. is out. Luka's in. Dorian Finney-Smith is back after being out for ages. Josh Green is back after being out for ages. Still no Maxey or still no McKinley, right? We got to start with Luka, though. 12,400 on both sites. He's point guard only on DK, pulling about 25% ownership on both sites. And honestly, I don't want to say that I think that that's light because it's a 9-game slate, but I'm getting to more of him. I think he's unequivocally the best play today.
Yeah, I probably will get to more of him as well. I ran a crunch earlier before some of the news came out. I'd gotten to around 50%. I have another crunch running in the background right now that I should have relatively soon. I expect to be over that number. It's just he projects so much better than everybody else on the slate. I realize that he's expensive, but you're just getting, at least a 5-point gap in projection. I know you were higher, had a wider gap than that this morning, but even at 5 points, I think he's just going to show up in a lot of lineups. It is a 9-game slate. There are enough spots that we can pay down and get him into lineups. I think he looks like a pretty big priority here, just given how many minutes he's playing. Dorian Finney-Smith returning, Josh Green possibly returning, that would typically make me think that Luka's minutes disappear a little bit, not disappear, but lower from, 42 minutes in competitive games, but then you're taking Hardaway out. So you're mostly soaking up those minutes, the Hardaway minutes and not getting to the Luka minutes yet. So he's still going to look great. And, again, even if you project him for say 37, 38 minutes, which is probably on the safer lower end, he still projects 5 to 6 points better than anybody else on the slate.
The problem with the rest of Dallas is that I don't think anybody else projects all that good. I don't mind, there's the $3,700 Reggie Bullock value piece that really goes hand in hand with Luka Doncic if you're trying to pay up at 12.4, but he stinks on a per minute basis. There's no ownership coming in here. There's no ownership coming into anybody other than Christian Wood on FanDuel at 8,300. He's clearly the other guy you would try to get to, but I don't necessarily love that if I'm already getting to Luka. I just would rather not have much of Dallas.
Yeah, I don't see a ton else from Dallas. Wood's price tag has gotten expensive. He still gives you a nice ceiling, but it's a 9-game slate. There's no shortage of guys in this price range that you can say, oh, well, he's capable of playing really well. Cool. How do you determine between the 25 guys that are capable of playing really well and are low owned? So outside of, that sort of commentary on him, there's not really much to add there. Dorian Finney-Smith at 3,600 is somewhat interesting in his return, assuming he starts in place of Hardaway. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. He was out for a while, but 3,600 is a pretty cheap price tag for him. He has been extremely unproductive this year, though, as a result of Luka just doing even more than he has in the past. And then similarly, even if Finney-Smith is in the starting lineup here, he's going to run into that same problem because not only is he contending with Luka, he has Christian Wood starting now as well. So another very high usage guy out there, higher usage than normal. So you're not going to be confident at all in Finney-Smith or Bullock. Dinwiddie's still pretty expensive. It's mostly Luka or just look somewhere else from this team.
Your Washington Wizards are 5-point dogs in New York, 224 total. We got word that Bradley Beal is in for this one. Devin Dotson was waived, by the way, just in case you care about that.
I forgot he was
there is legitimately no ownership coming into anyone here. Highest mark is 3.2% to Kuzma on FanDuel. I don't think that we have to really say a single word about the Wizards. They're basically unrosterable to me.
Anything I have to say, I think, is very well known by anybody that's played DFS at all this year or is familiar with basketball in general. Kyle Kuzma, Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal, they're all capable of playing well. They're also all pretty much correctly priced for Beal to be in, if not a little bit overpriced. Beal is 7,600, but there's a decent chance that he's somewhat limited here. And by that, I mean playing like 32, 33 minutes instead of 36. I don't expect anything drastic, but he also just hasn't had the same usage rate this year because he's been deferring to Kuzma and Porzingis more. Him returning means that you're less likely to get those Monte Morris plus DeLon Wright minutes that we've been seeing. That's allowed them both to play a lot. So I agree that there really just shouldn't be much ownership coming into this team.
The Knicks, on the other hand, are slightly different. I think that there should be way more ownership coming into the Knicks side of this one. RJ Barrett is at 14% on DK. No one else is above 7. Randall, Grimes, and Robinson are all at 2. What am I missing here? What are we missing? Because I know you agree with me.
I mean, I kind of agree with you in that the Knicks being low owned here is appealing, but I also do think they're still kind of difficult to get to just because of how the slate looks. Like Randall's coming in at 10-1, which I don't really have a problem with. Except you have to keep in mind that Sabonis is not that much more expensive. Jokic is like 1,400 more. If I'm paying up for Luka, it's becoming really difficult to get to Randall as well. Now you also have Naz Reid taking up a power forward spot. So I get why he's 2% owned, even though he has a 4% chance of being optimal. I kind of think the Knicks are just one of those teams for me where they're pretty low probability as far as being in the optimal lineup, but they're also going under-owned. We have a 9% chance of Brunson being optimal at 7%, 6% chance of Robinson being optimal at 2.5%. So they just look to me kind of like Atlanta did, but probably a little bit better, where it's more so guys that I'm going to be using to just make an individual lineup contrarian, as opposed to saying like, oh, I think the field is way wrong, and I think that jamming in Julius Randle or Jalen Brunson is like a huge edge on this slate, because there are still pretty low probability plays when you consider everything.
Sure. That Mitchell Robinson ownership is just the one that I can't stop looking at just because of the way he's been playing. And the way that he's playing, I mean by playing time, not necessarily by a per minute rates. But even still, like worst case, he's been 0.94 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. He's still basically a fantasy point per minute guy. I like the idea of getting to Brunson at 7%. The Randall one is tricky. Like Randall's still only 3% owned on FanDuel, where he's power forward center in 9,900. Like even that surprises me.
Yeah, it seems a little bit low. I was just looking to see sort of where I got to if the slate started right now on DraftKings. And it's looking kind of like I was just saying. Like I'm over the field on the Knicks, but it's over the field in the sense of like, I got 4% Randall at 2%. I got 7% Robinson at 2%. I'm like at 6 or 7% on Brunson, which I think is pretty much in line with the field. So it's that kind of thing where like, if they do well and I want to make myself sound good on Twitter, I'll tweet that I was 3x the field on Robinson, but it means that 95% of my lineups didn't have Robinson.
I actually have a much bigger stand right now. I've got just under 20% of Brunson, just over 20% of Mitchell Robinson, Barrett 2.5 times the field. Like I am getting to the Knicks here.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, they're the types of guys that I do want to take those shots on. Like those aren't percentages that bother me in any way.
Right. It's like you and I talked about this morning. I just think kind of the easiest way to think about it is that there's probably a little bit bigger gap between like the medium projection and the ceiling for the Knicks guys than there are for most players, because when you project the Knicks, it's always difficult to just give somebody 39, 40 minutes because no matter what the coach's intentions are, there's not really any margin for error for things to go wrong. But the coach's intentions are to play them 40 plus minutes. So, you can project 36, 37, 38 and try and account for those random blowouts, foul trouble, whatever it may be. But you have that extra like 4 to 5 minutes there. Whereas most guys, when you project them, you're saying like, oh, well, I'm projecting for 35 in best case, or like best normal case, he's playing like 37 instead of 40.
Anything else you want to touch on for the Knicks?
RJ Barrett is probably the easiest guy to get to. I was getting around 9% right now. He is pulling the most ownership on the team. Should play a lot of minutes. He's also RJ Barrett.
There you go. And by a lot of minutes, you mean he might play all 48.
Yeah, he might not leave the floor.
The Charlotte Hornets are 2.5-point favorites in Houston. 236 total in this one. We did get the news of, well, I thought we got the news. Wrong, Martin. Doubtful tag on Gordon Hayward. Doubtful tag on Cody Martin. Petition to let the NBA only have one member of their family in the league at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
Kelly,
I still, until we do something about Oklahoma City with the Williamses, I don't care about the Martins.
It usually takes me a while to remember which McDaniels is on Charlotte and which McDaniels is on Minnesota.
Yeah, that one's always tough to talk about. I did it this morning. I was like Jaden, Jalen, like, but we finally did see it. I remember I had said something before the season started, like how long until we get a slate where everybody freaks out because Jovic gets ruled out and everybody like mistakes it as Jokic. We didn't get that one, but we did get everybody reporting the other day that Jalen Williams, the center, was starting at the 4 instead of Jalen Williams, the guy that always starts at the 4.
It's exhausting, dude. Exhausting. So for the Hornets, they're kind of business as usual. We sort of know exactly what they're doing each time that they come out here. We got 20% ownership going to Ball, 20-something% going to Mason Plumlee, which really is just blowing my mind today. 12% going to McDaniels. I really like Terry Rozier. I'm very happy to get to PJ Washington as well. I love this starting lineup, and I don't mind Dennis Smith Jr. because a matchup against Houston is just really, really good.
I'm glad you don't mind the guy that I'm getting to the most from this team, which does not make me feel good whatsoever. But it also makes sense, especially the way things look right now. We haven't gotten a ton of value opening up today. We got the Naz Reid piece, great, but Dennis Smith Jr. is showing up a lot for me. He's somebody that prior to injury, earlier in the year was playing big minutes off the bench. In their current situation without Hayward and probably without Martin, you expect him to play big minutes. He played 25 minutes last game. That was without closing as well. You could certainly see some games where he's in the closing lineup over really any of McDaniels, Plumlee, or PJ Washington, depending on what they want to go with. So he does have a path to getting more minutes. He's not a bad point per minute guy, and he's not getting a ton of ownership. We have him right now getting 6%. So, I mean, that's actually even lower than I thought it was going to be. I think that's lower than it was earlier. We have him with about a 12% chance of being optimal at 7% owned. Maybe that ownership comes up, and I kind of hope it does because I would like to get away from how much I'm getting to right now. But with the way everything looks right now, he's actually my highest owned guy from this team by a little bit over LaMelo, who looks very good. I'm also getting the Plumlee, McDaniels. Like, this team in general just looks very, very good because it's a matchup against Houston. I just think that price tag on Dennis Smith Jr. and the low ownership is driving him up a bit, whereas ownership on guys like LaMelo and Plumlee and McDaniels is more or less where it should be. I'm getting, around 30% on Ball, getting around 20% on Plumlee and McDaniels. The other two, Washington and Rozier, I think they are both reasonable as well. A little bit more difficult to get to. I have about 5% Washington if the slate started right now. Same for Rozier, but they are also pulling a little bit less ownership. So, within an individual tournament lineup, they are still pretty appealing. You and I talked about it this morning. No real feel for who the backup center is going to be.
Yeah.
If you want to gamble on Mark Williams, I think it's okay. He's 3,100. It's a good matchup against Houston. I also am not really finding the need to get to there on this slate.
Ryan Langley hit us with a super chat. I don't know how good we're going to be at answering it. I said, thank you as always, gents. Random question. Outside of LaMelo and Jaren Jackson, who are the top 5 NBA players at risk of sitting due to foul trouble?
I mean, in
this
general,
year, Ben Simmons.
I was gonna say in general, pick a center.
Yeah.
LaMelo is. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but
I have him.
I would get. What do you say?
I have him.
I would guess LaMelo is the most foul prone guard.
Sort of like Cole Anthony, Killian Hayes are ahead of him. I mean, you're pretty close in terms of like guys that matter.
Right. That's what I meant. As far as
Ben Simmons has a 0 percentile foul rate right now.
That's wild. I would normally say Mitchell Robinson, but he appears to have gotten that shit under control.
Yeah, he's basically neutral now.
Turner, I feel like Miles Turner's probably up there.
Not really.
No, that's just anecdotal.
Not in like the aggressive, not the aggressive extremes. Dylan Brooks is as high, but he's a wing.
Right. Is Şengün up there?
Not that I see.
So basically, I just run really bad on every center I play because these are the guys that I think foul a lot.
If I just go to bigs and wings instead of going to like any guards, because it's different for guards. Neesmith, Denny, Koloko, Hamidou Diallo, Dwight Powell. This is just foul rates of guys that have played like 400 minutes or more this season. Jalen McDaniels, Mo Bamba, Okongwu, Olynyk.
Olynyk does foul a lot.
Yeah.
And Jaren Jackson's been better this year too.
He has.
I mean, you couldn't really be worse, but
you could not. Do you have anything else for Charlotte?
No.
And I guess I'm going to touch on this question very brief.
Kind of a follow-up on Charlotte. Where's PJ Washington ranked?
That's a good question. Let me see if I can find him.
Because he's just another one that anecdotally from playing, it seems like he's in foul trouble like 50% of the time.
PJ Washington is committing fouls 3.2% of the time. That's a 53rd percentile outcome. That's the worst of his career, by the way.
Yeah, I'll say it just seems very common.
Ryan asked the question here. This is going to be a 2-second answer because I don't have time for it. Would like to hear you elaborate on Lofty's debate from this morning with Ben. Would you rather fight a silverback gorilla or a hippo? It's not even a question. It's very clearly a hippo.
Are you out of your mind?
Dude, I could at least like dodge a hippo. A silverback gorilla is just going to rip me in half immediately.
A hippo is faster than you. I mean, a gorilla probably is too, but like...
I have to pick one of the two. A gorilla immediately grabs me and just snaps me apart.
And what do you think a hippo doesn't does to you?
It's even if it's a couple seconds less, it's still I'm picking the other thing. It's not close. It's not close. A hippo can't grab me.
I mean, it can just pick you up with its mouth.
Yeah, I think I could dodge a hippo's mouth a lot easier than I could dodge a silverback gorilla's arms. That's not even close. It's not close. It's not close. Jordan, where did they end up on this? Do you know? Oh, you weren't on that show. You weren't on that show. Never mind. Yeah, it's. Look, this is not to undermine a hippo.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, like, there's no you can't win this argument by saying either hippos are dangerous or you would get your ass kicked by a silverback gorilla. Both things are 100% without a doubt true.
I'm going to die.
Right, yeah. But they're both...
I'm not going to crawl out of the hippo's ass like Ace Ventura after it eats me. Okay, we got to go to Houston. We don't have enough time in this slate for this one. Houston Rockets, we still don't know the status of KPJ, which is... I don't want to say that it's very important, but it certainly creates a trickle-down effect. There's no real ownership here coming into anybody other than Şengün at 7%. Are you expecting to get to anything from Houston if KPJ is in?
Not a lot, and I kind of wish that I was. I'm getting to around 10% Şengün right now, which is cool. I would kind of like to get more, and I probably will if KPJ is out. But the one thing that makes me like him, even if Kevin Porter Jr. is in, is that we had seen a little bit of a rotation change from Houston when Şengün's able to avoid foul trouble. He's been playing really big minutes. They've basically kicked Bruno Fernando out of the rotation when he's not needed because of foul trouble. So Whereas not that long ago, you were kind of projecting 26, 27 minutes to Şengün, knowing that if things went really well, you could get 30 or 31. Now I think you're projecting 28 to 30, knowing if things go really well, you can get mid 30s from him. And he's a very good point per minute guy with or without Porter. But if Porter's out, you expect the offense to run through him a bit more. The salary has also gone up a bit, but still a very, very good matchup for him here. So we have him projected for 7% ownership. I'm getting around 10. We have him with a 10% chance of being optimal. So I'm pretty happy with that. Outside of that, I think it's difficult to get to much of anything if Porter is in. Jalen Green's salary has come up a bit. You still get, a nice ceiling for him in this matchup. He's still not afraid to go out there and shoot, but certainly benefits if Porter is out. Same goes for Jabari Smith, who sees a bump in usage if Porter is out. He's still pretty cheap in a good matchup. So like if you're just staring at a lineup that you really like and you have $5,400 left, if you want to click Jabari Smith, that's fine. But he's in like 2% of my lineups. That tells me that's basically how my process is treating him as well.
God, just looking at pictures of hippos, man, no part of this looks like it's going to be a good time.
That one like hippo that's just been going viral, it's like a baby hippo in like the Cincinnati Zoo, I think. And it's just like, but it's like, it's so tough to look at it and like know what it's going to turn into and how like terrifying that is.
And then I searched for a picture of silverback gorilla, and it's like, yeah, of course that dude is going to rip me to shreds.
I feel like there's like a better chance of being able to just like find common ground with a gorilla. Like, like you're cool. Like, I'm not going to tear you apart. Where a hippo is just like, fuck you.
Dude, where's this? I mean, people said it in chat, but like, I could climb a tree and then the hippo just can't get me.
Can you climb
the gorilla's
a tree?
Gonna... Probably.
I can't. I mean, I can't fast enough to get away from a gorilla. That's for sure.
Or no, and the gorilla's going to follow me.
I can't fast enough to get away from a hippo either.
I could snap off a branch, stab the hippo from the branches. I mean, it's very clear here. Anyway, hit the like button to the 1,990 people in here, 242 likes. We need to run that number
I don't know if he said it before or after me, but he said, I feel like you'd be able to negotiate with a gorilla, not a hippo. That's what it's coming down to me. Like, there's some like ancestral common ground where it can just be like, all right, like, I'll stay out of your way, you stay out of mine. The hippo's just gonna be like, nah, we're good.
No, he is. I have a lot of things that I could say right now about what's going to happen to me in this scenario, and none of them are good for me. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next at 6:30. They will take you all the way up until lock. That's going to be Greg and Eric. And then you will also get PGA Live Before Lock tonight. That'll be at 8 p.m. for the Amex. Ben Raza breaking that one down. You can bring back that hippo gorilla debate with Ben tonight on Live Before Lock. Also, 5 days free. Link in the description. Our NBA product, you can check it out. It's a trial. If you haven't signed up with us before, click that link. Projections, ownership, boom bust, our player compare tool, so you can do 1v1s and 2v2s until your heart is content, along with our brand new lineup generator. We generate thousands and thousands of lineups. We throw all the bad ones in the garbage. We let you sift through the rest of the good stuff. Swap out individual players if you want. Save up to 20 if you need to. We'll show you the ownership. We'll show you the projection. Fantastic tool, guys. Come check it out.
So somebody said, too, that in this question, you're in the water with the hippo, which I learned like a week ago. They're like super aggressive in the water and not on land. So you're even more screwed.
So I'm in the water for the hippo. I'm on land for the gorilla?
I guess.
Okay. Well, like I don't want to be in the water. I'm not a water animal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
want to fight a shark either.
Right. I mean, you're also, if we're just throwing you in the water with hippos, there's like a non-zero chance if you do escape the hippo, you're just getting eaten by a crocodile too.
Yeah. The rest of the animals that are in there, some little critter will crawl up me or something. It'll be awful. Cleveland Cavaliers, 7.5-point dogs in Memphis, 227 total for Cleveland. We got to talk a little bit about them here. No Donovan Mitchell in this one. Still no Dean Wade or Dylan Windler. 15-ish% ownership coming into Garland, Mobley, and LeVert. Jared Allen around 10%. I like all four of these guys here. I think that I like LeVert the most just from a flexibility standpoint, but I don't mind really getting to any of it here. Allen probably the guy that I want to get to the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot to get to with Donovan Mitchell out. It does open up a lot. The thing that's really interesting is like this is just such a loaded guard slate that normally you'd be jamming in Darius Garland, and here, I think he's a good play, but not as much of a priority. He's pulling 18% ownership. So that is one reason why I'm probably one reason I'm only getting around 10% is just the ownership's coming in there when there, are a lot of other guard plays to get to. But I think ownership aside, Garland looks very good. Mobley looks good. Get a little bit of a bump there with Mitchell out. Karis LeVert at 5,100 sees a bump as well. He's about 0.96 DraftKings points per minute this season without Mitchell on the floor, 0.9 when he shares the floor with Darius Garland without Mitchell. Jared Allen at 6,700, pulling 9%. Being center eligible, obviously, is going to drive the ownership down a little bit. Kevin Love's pulling 6% just because he's $4,100. He has shot poorly since coming back from the thumb injury. I think that is something to keep in mind, but you also could certainly get a few more minutes from him here, even though he plays a different position, just as a result of them needing more offense without Mitchell. So I think that he's fine as well. I like the Cavs here. I think that like if the slate started right now, I'd be under the field on they're on the guys that are getting ownership, but that's one of those spots where it's not that I disagree with them being popular. It's more so just that I can get low owned guys that look similar enough.
My filler arc had the super chat that said he feels like he would be able to negotiate with a gorilla and not a hippo. I'm getting DMs from Ben now too. He also wanted to know Sabonis or LeBron, last man in on DraftKings.
LeBron, if you can get there, okay. But I wouldn't give up a lot to get to Sabonis, or I wouldn't give up a lot to get from Sabonis to LeBron.
Don Icewood wants to know the best utility player for 5,000 or less.
I assume DraftKings.
I assume DraftKings as well. This one got me in trouble last time, so I'm just going to let you shout it out. Naz Reid.
Oh, yeah.
Naz Reid.
Yeah, I wasn't even... I was waiting to pull up project, but yeah, it's Naz Reid and it's not close.
Yeah. And then I think I saw one more. A hippopotamus sent a super chat that said, "Come at me, bro." That's fantastic. I can't believe a hippo has money. Let's go to Memphis, where no one is getting ownership. Ja Morant is at 3.5%, and I agree with it. I wouldn't ever mind if I get to some of these guys, but to me, I'm not getting to Memphis today.
Yeah, it's just very, very difficult for a couple of reasons. One reason is that they have the difficult matchup against Cleveland, and so you're not really going out of your way to get there anyway. They're also pretty much correctly priced for everybody to be in, but then also Memphis just runs not as appealing a rotation for fantasy as most other teams. Like Ja Morant, your sort of best regulation game from him is like you're getting 35, 36 minutes when you have other guys in his price range that are playing close to 40 if their game's competitive. So it just makes it really tough, even though he is obviously a great option. This is a big enough slate that you can get low owned, very high upside guys that just look a little bit better. If the slate started right now, I'd have literally on DraftKings one Ja Morant lineup. I would have one Desmond Bane lineup. Steven Adams would be in 6 out of 150. Like, it's just not a team that I'm getting to.
All righty. We'll go to Miami next. They are 3-point favorites in New Orleans, 220 total. Kyle Lowry is in, Caleb Martin is in, and Miami guys are basically Memphis guys. They're not likely to be in my lineups. Do you see Miami the same way you see Memphis?
Yeah, pretty much. Just a team that's getting healthier. Bam is probably the most appealing guy to get to, but he's also center only at 8,800, so he's not really showing up much. Butler's price tag's expensive enough that I don't really want to go there. Tyler Hero on some slates would be interesting, just hoping that he gets back to the minutes he was playing before his injury, where you were just consistently getting, 38, 39 minutes a night, but he only played 31 last game. You have no shortage of guard options here. There's not much of anything I'm interested in from the Miami side.
All right. And we can go over to the New Orleans side, which I know we definitely have more to talk about. No Brandon Ingram, no Zion Williamson. Herb Jones is doubtful. So we're getting the same thing that we've seen over the past 3 games. Najee Marshall, 16% owned. Jose Alvarado is 20% owned. It's single digits and light across the board for everybody else. I'm sort of more like, I think that Najee Marshall and Jose Alvarado are the best point per dollar plays for the Pelicans, but I'm at least a little bit more interested in lightly owned Trey Murphy, lightly owned Joe Val, lightly-ish owned Dyson Daniels. Like, I feel like they've got more pivots than I was expecting.
Yeah, this is an interesting team too, because like when we talked about Charlotte, I mentioned how much Dennis Smith Jr. I'm getting to. It looks like I'm basically using him as an Alvarado pivot, because right now I'd have that 30% Smith or whatever and only like 8% Alvarado. If you're playing cash, I think you play Alvarado first. If you're playing smaller field stuff, you probably play Alvarado first. But just from a range of outcome standpoint, I don't think they're that different. So if you're going to, if this 20% ownership to Alvarado and only 6% to Dennis Smith Jr. is going to hold, I like sort of just flipping those guys playing more Dennis Smith Jr. If the Dennis Smith Jr. ownership comes up and or the Alvarado ownership comes down, then I'm happy to get back to Alvarado because I do think he's a good play here. He's about a fantasy point per minute guy. On average, you're getting around 24 minutes, but he definitely can play 30 plus if he finds his way into the closing lineup. It's kind of the same thing with Najee Marshall, 5,600, 0.92 DraftKings points per minute without Ingram or Zion on the floor this year, probably playing 34, 35 minutes. He looks good, but he's getting 16% ownership, while Trey Murphy has also averaged 34 minutes per game in the 5 games he's played without Jones, Ingram, or Zion, and he's pulling 5% ownership. So I like just kind of turning some of that Najee Marshall into Trey Murphy. Dyson Daniels at 3,500 is a decent value piece. Not a very good point per minute guy, but should just get enough minutes to be a decent point per dollar projection.
We're in the process. I can tell right now that AB is watching this one. We're getting Twitter DMs from AB about the gorilla hippo debate. So this is pretty fun. Shout out to AB right now. I just saw the pop-up of the tweet and I was just like, okay, I got to get in on this one. Do you have anything else you want to touch on for New Orleans?
No.
Oh man, this is fun. I just want to stop doing the show and just talk about this stuff, but we can't do that. So what we are going to keep talking about is, one, you guys hitting the like button, and two, we're going to talk about No House Advantage. They are the presenting sponsor of this show. If you want to get up to $100 on your first deposit, you're in luck. You can do that by clicking the link in the description. You can get up to put in 100. They'll match with 100. You'll have $200 in there. That's going to be 13 entries if you want them into the 15K NBA Slam Dunk, 5K up top tonight. Or you can wait it out. Wait for the 15K to first contest for the NFL this Saturday. What you're doing here is picking player props. You're ranking them on a confidence interval. So your number one is at 10 points. You work your way down from there. We at Stokastic.com can really help you out here because we have No House Advantage projections already on the website for free. We take every single one of the props that exist. We give them the percentage chance to go over and under. You can just look through that data, make it really easy on yourself. Or you can make it even easier on yourself by just going to our No House Advantage optimal lineups page, grab those lineups that are already generated for you based on our projections and load them directly in. I think this is the best way that you guys can start a DFS bankroll. This is going to be the easiest competition. You may see some overlay on a pretty regular basis, and we have already done the work for you. It won't cost you any time at all. So please click the link in the description. Go check out No House Advantage. Indiana Pacers, 4-point dogs in Oklahoma City, 238 total. On the Indiana side, it's just no Tyrese Halliburton in this one. So we've seen this for the past couple games now. We're getting basically 15% ownership on Buddy Hield, Andrew Nembhard, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, and TJ McCollum. One of those things is not like the other for me, but we'll have that conversation if you want. I am happy to get to all of these guys, though, just because this is an incredible DFS game.
Yeah, it is. Also, I am really dumb. I had like on my crunch, I had everything down to like 75 or 80%, like the sizing of it. So I'm just like squinting at my screen this whole show and just realized I could make that easier. But yeah, this is a very appealing game. I'm getting to a lot of it. The pricing on DraftKings is certainly more favorable than on FanDuel, at least in the case of TJ McConnell in particular. He's pulling 16% ownership at 5,500. I'm getting around the field there. I don't love it, but it's just a $5,500 price tag for a guy that scores more than a fantasy point per minute. On average, you're getting around 24 minutes. If he plays well or other people play poorly, he can close and get the 30. So not a real strong lean either way. If I end up getting a little bit less, that's fine. You know, it is still a backup guard getting 15 to 20% ownership, but he is a good point per minute guy. So I don't mind just getting there a little bit. Andrew Nembhard, we've seen take a step back from a fantasy standpoint. I think that was likely going forward, we didn't really know what to make of him when Halliburton went down because we had the one game without McConnell where he just went absolutely nuts and looked like a future star. But other than that, he hasn't been a good point per minute guy this year, even when he's shared the floor with McConnell and without Halliburton. And then so far now, still hasn't been great. He's still playing big minutes, though. He's still 5,200. So I do think that ownership still looks okay. Miles Turner at 7,100, pulling 20%. Hield at 6,400. Both of those guys look good. It's a good matchup. Turner is about a 1.2 DraftKings point per minute guy without Halliburton on the floor, has about a 24% usage rate. He's going up against an OKC team that you should like Miles Turner against. Matherin's the fifth guy here pulling ownership. He plays more as a starter. He's another one where I'm under the field right now, but at 5,600 shooting guard, small forward, I still think he's a good play. He's just not showing up in my personal lineups right now. Chris Duarte at 3,600, 6% owned. I'm around the field there. This is a very appealing team to get to overall.
They really are. So is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Everybody that matters is available, which I think is probably the easiest way to say this one. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the least owned option of the Thunder at 6%. Josh Giddey's at 20, Dort's at 15, Jalen Williams is at 10. And I find all four of those guys, I think they're probably pretty close to each other relative to salary and sort of how frequently I want to get to them. But I like getting to OKC. A matchup against Indiana is great.
Yeah, I like getting to them as well. I don't really like the ones that I am getting to, but it's a very appealing matchup. You have ownership coming in here, as it should. SGA pulling 6%. He's 10K. I think he's kind of difficult to get to, but you have Josh Giddey at 7,500 pulling 20%. Again, you do have a lot of good guard options. So right now I'd be under the field, but that also can change if ownership on other guys changes. I think Giddey is a good play. There's just other guards that I'm getting to that are lower owned. But as far as the OKC guys I am getting to right now, Lou Dort, 16% owned. He's just a $4,800 small forward. He's playing big minutes recently. Even though I would certainly much rather be putting Josh Giddey in my lineups than Lou Dort, there's just so many more good guard options than there are good small forward options, especially when you consider that Dort is nearly $3,000 less expensive as well. So it's just a little bit easier to get him into lineups. Same goes for a 5K Jalen Williams. Trey Mann at 3K flat is a spot that right now I'm taking some shots at. No ownership. If things break your way, it looks really, really good. It's going to allow you to get to those Luka and the Jokic pieces. Also, if more value opens up, I'll be getting away from that very quickly, but just kind of showing up in some lineups for me right now.
I didn't know what was happening in the downstairs of my home. Wife is cooking some dinner right now, and I don't know how else
showed up.
Well, she is down there beating meat. I'll be honest with you. I can hear her pounding chicken breasts.
Fantastic.
I had to say it like that. What else am I going to do here? Ultimately, I just want to get a bunch of this Indiana OKC game. It's a fantastic DFS game. There are multiple high-end starter options and mid-tier starter options that you can rotate through. So,
and just
now go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to double back to the Trey Mann thing. I hope I end up getting less. He played 7 minutes last game. You don't have Lindy Waters today, but it's certainly a spot where there is no floor. I just think at 3K, the ceiling, if you happen to get the good OKC rotation where he plays 18 to 20 minutes, is interesting in no ownership.
The Los Angeles Clippers are 8-point dogs in Utah, 228 total. We had no idea what to do earlier today. There's still one gigantic, interesting piece here, but Paul George is out. Kawhi Leonard is out. Luke Kennard is out. John Wall was just going to be out regardless. Moses Brown is with the G League. Of all the times that they're going to send him to the G League, today doesn't seem like that should have been the day. We've got a Q tag on Ivica Zubac, which really creates an interesting problem if he ends up being out. But for now, we kind of just know that we got to pick up a bunch of the Clippers. Utah's defense, not very good. Terrence Mann is getting ownership. Marcus Morris, over 10%. Batum, over 10%. Norm Powell and Robert Covington are both north of 20%. I'm very happy to get to Zubac if he is in. You can make a case for flat 3K Amir Coffey, potentially. Clippers went from, I don't know what to do with them, to I think we're playing a bunch of them.
Yeah, they do look good. One point to make on Moses Brown is that he is listed as questionable with the G League.
Oh, okay.
So he could certainly just be, we could get Moses Brown available at the same time we get Zubats out. And that would be a very, very easy pivot. Right now, I'm getting to around 13% Zubats. He looks good if he plays. He's cheap at 5,300. He's only pulling 8% ownership. And if he's good to go, he should play a lot of minutes here with George and Kawhi out. So I like getting there. And then, again, it's an easy enough fix. If he does get ruled out, you're probably going to be getting Moses Brown available in that situation. If not, you'll be getting, Robert Covington, I guess, probably, who is already pulling 26% ownership at 3,600. I don't really love getting to him at that much ownership, but I do get it. He's a good point per dollar projection. But if Zubats is in, I think that ownership scares me off a little bit. Norman Powell at 6K has produced 1.12 DraftKings points per minute without George or Kawhi on the floor this year. Terrence Mann's at 0.84, Zubats 1.06, Batum's at 0.76 and should play plenty of minutes. He's pulling 10% ownership. Morris is 4,800, pulling 13%. So I like getting to this team. It's really just a matter of which ones because we don't know Zubats status yet.
Terrence Mann and Covington were the two guys that popped up the most for me on the crunch that I ran. I ended up being a little bit under on Norm Powell.
It's Morris. Morris
Coffee became my guy in the Trey Mann realm that you have.
I have Coffee too.
If you had Trey Mann over Coffee, I would have been surprised.
No, I actually have the exact same amount of both. Okay. So Morris and Batum were the two I got to the most, followed by Coffee, which again is just hope it works out, followed by Zubats. And then I just wasn't really getting to the very popular Robert Covington. Again, I think him getting ownership makes sense. We also have him with a 10% chance of being optimal at 26% owned. I'm fine with kind of just rolling the dice on other cheap guys and hoping it works out my way.
The reason you pound chicken breasts is to create one uniform size so they cook evenly. Chicken breasts are not normally shaped correctly, very thick on one side, very thin on the other. You pound them flat so they cook in a uniform nature.
Even I knew that.
Yeah, well, chat doesn't, but what do you, we're not watching their cooking shows, Anything else for the Clippers?
No.
For the Utah Jazz, we got Bradley. Yeah, that's the wrong team. For the Utah Jazz, we got Lauri Markkanen in. Kelly Olynyk's still out for another couple games. The highest owned guy on Utah is just 12% owned Walker Kessler. Malik Beasley is at 7%. Everybody else is pretty low owned. Can't really say that I disagree with it. I'm just curious, how do you feel about $5,400 Walker Kessler today?
I'm getting a little below the field, but not too far. I have like 7 to 8%. With Markkanen being in, my concern is just that you're probably getting 48 center minutes split between Kessler and Vanderbilt. In the previous games, it's gone Kessler's way, where you've gotten 31 and 27 minutes. But I just don't feel comfortable, especially with it only being 2 games where Vanderbilt has come off the bench with Markkanen in. I don't feel comfortable just expecting that Jared Vanderbilt's going to play like an 18 to 20 minute role. I think it's likely that ends up over a larger sample, averaging out around 22 minutes and giving 26 to Kessler. So at 5,400, he does look good, but he's also getting 6 times the ownership of Mitchell Robinson. He's getting more ownership than Zubats, other guys in this price range that you can pivot some of that ownership to.
What can we do here? Markkanen's impossible to get to at 9,400, right?
I think more or less 0 right now.
Okay. Thoughts on Clarkson or Conley? Any chance Sexton off the bench doesn't seem like a thing for me. I just don't know what to do with the rest of Utah.
I think Conley's the only one that I'm getting to. And that's 10 to 12% at 3% owned. He's not very good, but he's a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. It's an okay matchup. They have a 117 implied total. There should be points scored here. And it's just the spot where I can pivot to a relatively inexpensive low-owned Conley. Clarkson's up to 7,200. Beasley's coming in at 5,100. I thought maybe I'd be getting to some Beasley, but only getting around 5% there. Clarkson, you certainly get a ceiling, but his usage rate does come down with Lauri Markkanen back. So I'm not really getting there, not really getting to Sexton.
Jordan Klein made a good point. 500 votes on the poll, 550 votes on the poll, just 370 likes. Hit that thumbs up, folks. We're having a pretty fun show. There's no reason we should only be at 370. We should have just as many likes as there are votes in this poll. By the way, 52% hippo, 48% silverback gorilla. Which animal would you rather fight? Jay Laz says, consider this. There's a chance you knock out the gorilla. You aren't winning against the hippo. There is no chance that I'm knocking out a gorilla.
I don't know who he thinks he's replying to, but there is a zero. There is no chance that, like, you can say like it's theoretically possible, but there's no chance that either of us are knocking out a gorilla or a hippo. It doesn't matter.
No, I would break my hand on its head.
Right.
And it's not going out. That would be the softest. Like, I would need the most beta, soft gorilla that exists in the jungle. And even still, when I throw that overhead right, it is just going to make my hand explode. And that gorilla's going to, he's not even going to know what it means, but he's going to laugh in my face.
Right. Like, you need the Dan Strafford of gorillas. And even then, you're not getting it done.
No. How do you want me to recover from that?
There's like a 2% chance he's watching, but it'll be so great if he is.
I hope we get that DM shortly. Okay. To Minnesota we go. They are 10-point dogs in Denver. 239 total in this one. Luckily, we got the information we needed, sort of. Rudy Gobert is out. That is the most important piece. We know we're going to get Naz Reid in the starting lineup. Still have the Q tag on Anthony Edwards, which he has basically every day. Q tag on Taurean Prince. Q tag on Austin Rivers as well. There's a potential to create a bunch of value. But for right now, we've got Naz Reid projected for 76% ownership on DraftKings, 75% on FanDuel. That actually feels a little high to me, considering you can only roster one center and he's only center eligible. But we could have that conversation in a bit. On DraftKings, I completely agree with it. He's incredible. I don't know how you don't play Naz Reid today.
Yeah, like if the slate started right now, I'd have 71%, which is in line with the ownership he's getting. It's one reason, he's one big reason I think why in a lot of these other spots where we've been getting like 20, 25% owned players, I've been under the field. I think a big reason is just that there's no real way for me to get away from Naz Reid in the majority of my lineups. He's played so many minutes this year when he has started in place of Gobert. He's a very good point per minute guy. And barring foul trouble or injury, there's just no reason to think that he's remotely close to correctly priced. Whereas when we've talked about some of these other 20, 25% owned guys, it's like, yeah, they look good, but I can find other guys that look slightly worse, but in the same range. And if I'm going to eat 76% ownership on Naz Reid, I'm going to have to start finding some ways to get different, since basically I'm playing a 7-man lineup instead of an 8-man lineup. So I think that's one reason that we've seen my overall exposures shake out the way they have, where like I'm taking risks on guys that I'm not even convinced are going to play a lot of minutes, or, you know, that I don't really like. It's just, if I'm going to play Naz Reid, I need to find ways to be different. And that is more appealing to me than not playing Naz Reid, because that seems pretty much insane. So yeah, like he looks great. The ownership seems fine to me.
Can we talk about the FanDuel ownership quickly? 75%. Like, that's a different discussion point. There's too many centers.
Yeah, center. I mean, 5,200 is still just such a cheap price tag, but that is a lot of ownership. Like 1.17 FanDuel points per minute this year in 627 minutes. He's most likely going to crush that salary, but there's some percentage of the time that Reid does well, say like 35 fantasy points, and it turns out that you still needed Jokic or something, or somebody that went for like 60 or 65 or 70 to win, because you're able to find value at small forward or shooting guard or whatever it may be. There's some percentage of the time that Reid does well and it still works out to where he's not needed. Then there's some smaller, probably, percentage of the time where he fails, which it's tough for him to do, but foul trouble and injury, you know, they're things. So there's some smaller percentage of the time where he fails and you really benefit from not having him. I think, you know, and I'm not playing FanDuel, I didn't build FanDuel lineups. My guess is that I would end up doing something like, I don't know, 40, 50% Naz Reid. Yeah, as opposed to 75.
I would just be under on that mark. It's just, there's too, like, he's clearly a fantastic play. He's clearly the cash center, but there are enough guys at the top of this list that can put up a raw point score that, like, you just need, there's enough value somewhere else that you need those additional 25 fantasy points that come in from a Jokic or a Sabonis, or even you want to say like Julius Randle, Bam, Porzingis, those type of guy, like some sort of monster number. I would be under that 70% mark. That's too high.
Yeah, and I mean that's reflected in the boom bust tool as well. 46% owner or optimal percentage for Reid. That's right in line with what I kind of just off the top of my head thought seemed right. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way to approach it. Like, you don't have to take an all in or, 0% approach. And if you're playing small field stuff, you should probably be more willing to just play Naz Reid. You're going to get probably even more ownership there if you're playing smaller field stuff, but it's just so much, it's a smaller field. It's just so much easier to win. You don't have to be as different, but in large field, I think it makes sense to not completely get away from him, but just be able to get more shots at some of the other centers. Like, I just wanted to quickly look at some of the other center only guys on FanDuel. Jokic is pulling 5%. Şengün's pulling 7%. Plumlee's expensive, but he's pulling 4%. Zubac's pulling 3%. Robinson pulling 1%. Those are all guys where if you're just kind of saying, all right, I'm going to take the field over Reid, I'm still going to play 40-50% of Reid, but I'm going to just be able to get over the field on some of these other guys that either are similar in price and could just beat him like Zubac's, or are at a completely different price point and just give me a totally different roster construction. That's a pretty appealing way to go in large field tournaments.
We got a couple super chats that we need to touch on here. Colorado Kane said, Şengün, Turner, or Plumlee, pick one, DraftKings. That's got to be Turner, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a pick one, I think it's Turner, then Plumlee, then Şengün. That's the order that I have them rostered right now if the slate started. I think if you're talking about like a tournament pivot, then it's probably Şengün first, just from like an ownership standpoint. But in terms of who I would expect to have the most of, or if I'm just trying to build like an optimal lineup, I think it's Turner, followed by Plumlee, followed by Şengün.
Ben Anthony said, who are the top priorities tonight? I'm late.
Naz Reid.
Yep. Yeah. Naz Reid, Luka to me.
Yeah, Luka / Jokic.
Tim L said, Jokic usually put opposing centers in foul trouble. Does that make Naz Reid a risky play? No.
Yeah, so I mean, usually he doesn't. That would suggest that like more than 50% of the time the opposing center gets in foul trouble, which they don't. Also, previously this year, they didn't have Reid or Gobert, but Kyle Anderson defended Jokic. You could certainly see some of that here. I'm sure you're going to see some Reid as well. But it's more risky than if he was facing like, I don't know, Daniel Gafford or something. But no, I mean, you shouldn't be. It doesn't come anywhere close to outweighing the fact that he is $5,200 or $4,800.
Right. Aiden wants to know if Dyson Daniels is a viable value with no Herb Jones. Yes. KPJ is out. So
all right. So Şengün question just got a lot closer.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on for Minnesota? Obviously, those Q tags matter. I expect to see Anthony Edwards at the very least, so they matter a little bit less.
I think it's kind of interesting for Anthony Edwards because he has put up 1.3 DraftKings points per minute without Gobert or Towns on the floor. And it makes sense just because the spacing is better with Naz Reid. You get Edwards being able to get to the rim better. So I don't think he becomes a priority here, but I do just like him a little bit more whenever Gobert is out. He's only pulling about 5 to 6% ownership. Right now, I would be getting even less than that, but I do just like his ceiling a little bit more.
On the Denver side,
somebody asked about playing Luka Garza and Naz Reid together. I wouldn't on this particular slate. I'm not expecting them to get minutes alongside each other. And so even though like Luka Garza could certainly put up a quote unquote good score for 3K, for him to put up that score you really want, you probably need Naz Reid to be playing less minutes than you're hoping for. If it were a shorter slate, I'd say it was fine. With it being a 9-gamer with a million good center options, I don't think I'd go that route.
For Denver, we've got about 10 to 15% ownership coming into Jokic, Murray, and Aaron Gordon so far today. Jeff Green is doubtful, but probable tag on Murray, probable tag on Bones Highland. I don't see any like aggressive priorities here for Denver, and I just find it mildly difficult to get to Jokic because of how much I like Luka. But I think Jokic looks good for sure. Obviously, against Minnesota, he's in a great spot. He's probably going to be seeing very little defense.
Yeah, I actually have more Jokic than Luka right now on DraftKings. Wow. It's not by a big margin. It's like 39 to 34. So I'm overweight on both. But I think that's just a result of Jokic being a little bit lower owned than Luka. That being said, I would be very happy if that turns into more Luka and less Jokic. Not anything against Jokic, just that, I think Luka, the minutes he's playing just kind of puts him over the top. But that ownership combined with being more expensive right now does have them pretty similar to me. And also, I just don't have the gap between them quite as big as you do. So that's, playing a role as well. I have like a 5-point gap. Both really good plays, though, and both guys that I'm over the field on.
Okay. RC Player said, who's the best pivot off of Reid on the T-Wolves? No one.
Luka Garza.
Yeah, but like those are two very different things.
Right. Yeah, there's nobody that it's like, oh, Kyle Anderson is similarly priced and projects close to Naz Reid. He doesn't. If you are just dead set on like maximizing your return when Naz Reid has a bad game, then the pivot is Luka Garza.
Yeah. Two different Lucas.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
right,
just like looking at those, like Jaden McDaniels and Kyle Anderson are similarly enough priced to Naz Reid, but Naz Reid projects 6 points better than Anderson and 13 points better than McDaniels. It's not like that's really comparable.
Final game for the night. We're up over 500 likes and up over 3,000 people. Hit that like button one last time before we turn it over to the Live Before Law crew. Sacramento Kings, 2.5-point favorites in Los Angeles. What a late night hammer. 246-point total. Sacramento is fully healthy right now. We kind of know how to project them. It's insane to me that there's a team playing in a game where they're slightly favored with a 246-point total, and the highest owned guy is 8% owned De'Aaron Fox. Like, there's a lot of fantasy points to go around here.
Yeah, that's not my highest owned guy right now. I'm getting to a good amount of Sacramento, and I'm pretty happy about that. Malik Monk in particular at 20%, that I guess shouldn't be surprising given that the whole theme of my exposures so far has been grabbing like good point per minute backups that are not getting ownership. He's just appealing because it's a great game environment. It's a player that if he is knocking down shots and playing well, can play his way into more minutes. So I'm getting to him. I'm a little over the field on Sabonis, getting around 11%. Trey Lyles is showing up like 8% for me. He's 1% owned. Again, not anybody I'm confident in, but he projects like 1.5 points behind Robert Covington. He's $100 more, and he's getting 126th the ownership. So that's a spot where I can move some of that Robert Covington exposure. De'Aaron Fox at 8,300 looks good. Again, you have plenty of guards, but I'm getting around 10% on him. The wings are interesting because you're seeing a lot of ownership go to some just mediocre wings, and then like not much coming in here. Kevin Huerter at 5% owned at 5,400, I think is interesting. You have Keegan pulling 2% ownership. Nothing I'm going crazy on here, but I think just sort of getting over the field on guys like Huerter and Murray. Barnes to a lesser extent, just because he's a little bit more expensive, but Huerter and Murray make sense as well. I'm not going crazy on any one individual guy from Sacramento. Monk again at 20% would be my highest owned right now. Everybody else is like 11% or less, but it's just another team where I think getting more than the field across the board makes a lot of sense.
White Nose DFS sent us a super chat, so thank you for that. He said, reaction to Luka pull up in monster truck, check Bleacher Report. I just assume that happened. I know I'm going to sound like I couldn't care less.
I was looking for it as soon as I saw that, and yeah, I mean, maybe I'll just make the gap 10 points now instead of 5, but
yeah, I don't.
It's a pretty sick truck.
I don't care how Luka Doncic gets to the basketball game. The Los Angeles Lakers are on the opposite side of this one. Equally as interesting because the total's 246. However, other than 9% ownership going to LeBron James, no one's getting owned here. 51% or $5,100 Schroeder is getting some love on FanDuel, but how is there no ownership coming into this? Are these guys are the Lakers that bad? Are the prices on the Kings that unappealing that we can turn 246-point totals into uneventful options?
I mean, I think the answer to are the Lakers that bad is just unequivocally yes. But I am getting over the field on the Kings. I'm not really getting to the Lakers. Earlier today, I was getting to LeBron at like 13, 14%. Now I'm just not really getting there. I think the reason, I have like, he's not a small forward. I missed that. I have like 20% LeBron on DraftKings right now. That is a spot that looks good. He's pulling 8 to 9% ownership. I was going to say if I lost him, I thought it must have just been because of Naz Reid, but getting there I think does make sense. Again, just a very appealing game to get to. LeBron obviously playing great without Davis. Outside of that, though, I just don't really know where you really go from this team. Like I would have 3% Schroeder right now. I would have Westbrook in a lineup. Thomas Bryant at 6,100 certainly has a path to a big game, but also you can't really count on the playing time, and there's like 100 centers to get to. So to me, I do expect to be over the field on LeBron. Outside of that, I don't really expect to get to this team.
It's really weird, right? Like if you just, when you look at just the line, the Sacramento -2.5, Lakers 246, you're like, oh, there's probably like a bunch of value here now just because, nope, it's just not here. Doesn't
I mean,
exist.
well, and the big reason that you're seeing it with the Lakers is just that LeBron has missed enough games recently that the salaries on these other guys came up enough. Westbrook's up to 9K, Schroeder's up to 5,500. Like Schroeder's played 14 games without Anthony Davis and with LeBron this year. He's averaged 0.72 DraftKings points per minute in 32 minutes per game. Can he get there in 32 minutes against the Kings defense? Sure, but it's not like he's any sort of a priority at that price. Westbrook again up to 9K just becomes really difficult to get to. It's just the pricing adjusting for LeBron being out.
Just to answer this final question before we get out of here, so everything is based off of what your lineup spits out, not actually basing this off of anything else? Yes.
Yeah, it's a math game. It's not a basketball game.
Yeah. So on that note, any further things before we get out of here?
So actually I will just, I guess, answer that for a second, because I typically try and say it when I have actually run a crunch. Like the exposures that I'm mentioning are more just to give reference to where I'm at. In a lot of cases, it's not saying like, oh, this is a bad play, so I'm under the field. There's just things where it works out where it's like, oh, well, this grades out slightly better for me, so I'm playing more of this guy, less of this guy. So in that regard, no, it's based on like how guys project and their ownership and all of that. But talking about exposures kind of can just give insight into how my stuff is shaking out right now. But definitely don't base everything you're doing off of somebody else's exposures, because we all just have different processes.
Yeah. Sabonis, questionable. Trey Lyles season, baby.
Trey Lyles, Rashawn Holmes. David Porter said, what is Jalen Green's usage rate with Porter out? I'll look real quick. I think it's about 33 or 34%.
Yeah, I don't have it in here right now.
While
Adam pulls that up, I will let him shout it out as I get out of here. Thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere. There you go, 33.5%. Good luck to everybody tonight. Pay attention to the news that's coming out. Don't go anywhere. Stay on this stream. Live Before Lock coming up next. Peace.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Give away some free subscriptions for a month to Stokastic Plus Platinum. And all you got to do to get your wonderful picture, screenshot, face, whatever it is up here, and your big win is download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame, Stokastic HOF. That'll get you right here up on the board. We'll do the bragging for you. And also, you win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. Let's kick it off, see what we've got to work with on this fine week. First up, it's Bobby Nissan. Thanks for another big win. Special thanks to the boys for all the great content. $55,000 there and a $50,000 win in first place as well in the NBA Baller. Followed up by Anthony Jimenez. Giant shout out to you guys. I swear if it wasn't for the entire Stokastic team, I'd be broke. Appreciate the hard work with a $75,000 win. Second place right there. Little hockey action. Love to see it. And then S. Schaefer. Not the first time he's been on here. I caught a ride on the NBA takedown chop train in the $15 fadeaway on the 8th. Crunched my ticket using Stokastic's suite of tools. With additional analysis, thanks to Live Before Lock and the crew. $3,090 there, another big win. And then how about Eric Johnston? Following this one up, these guys just don't miss. Another great night with Stokastic. You got 1,500, then you got 1,750. And if you look at the next one, it's Eric Johnston. Stokastic comes through again in the clutch, best in the business, second place in the 20K NBA putback for another $2,500. Huge week, Eric. Congrats, man. And how about Swaz or OZB with a $1,700 or $1,100 win on $46. $46 entered there. Over $1,400 in profit today. Binked on NBA tiers. Best day of my DFS lifetime. Congrats, man. That's awesome. And then Adam Y with a 1K win. Finally took one down first in the PGA short game. Turned my $1 into 1,000 Thanks to the awesome folks at Content is Stokastic. Shout out to Eric Lindquist and Jazz Raz DFS. And James Sanderson on a heater in NHL. Love the show with Slim, Cliffy, and Josh. It is a great show. You should check that out. That is me vouching for them. Now give me my free month. All right. Well, you could ask nicer. But hey, $600 in the hip check. Congratulations, man. Big stuff there as well. And Jay up next. Use the Stokastic tools to take third in the $5 single entry, second in the $3 three max. Thanks for the great tools and content. We got $1,500 there between the single back and the huddle. Congrats, Jay. And Scott Terman, top plays. Thanks to Eric Lindquist, top plays. I got third out of almost 8,000 people. With the free month and 150, I can move up in entry fees. That is what we want to see, man. Getting the free month, moving up higher, getting the win. Lovely stuff. And then Kanan. I don't know why my avatar pick hasn't changed, but how about that free month? Appreciate you fellas by a ton. By far my most watched program. Quarter Jukebox. I've said it once, I'll say it again. It doesn't matter what your entry fee is. If you want to get up here, if you want to get the free month, inducted into the Hall of Fame, you can get in the Quarter Jukebox. The nickel doesn't matter. Just has to be top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. And how about Powers 99? I won second in the 12,500 and one tournament last night using Stokastic's premium tools. Love to see it. Thanks for all your content, gentlemen. $500 in the 20 entry max and one. And Jay, Justin, and Lou, 2 big hits this week because of everyone at Stokastic, and you, Justin, and Lou, I guess. $150 there in that one, second place, followed up by Andrew. Another big ROI night, courtesy of the projections over at Stokastic. Nice. Quarter Jukebox. Again, look, $300. Look at the ROI on that. It's lovely. Mark Cato edged out multiple Luka lineups in hot pursuit. Shout out to Stokastic for the best content, hands down. First place, $100 there. And a couple left before we say goodbye for the week. Bill, thanking Stokastic and our boy Matt Savoca. Thanks, Matt. First big win. Your tepid endorsement of Russell Wilson convinced me to play him. Hoping this qualifies for the free month. Finding this site has improved my ROI considerably. Keep up the great work. And $1,000 win going to Bill there. We rounded out with CZAP 2 times in 1 week. Thanks, guys, for everything. Let's go. I'll definitely take a free month or 2. Only 1, but you still get it.
Not even mad, I'm impressed.
I'm not that impressed.
Kind of was.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock. As you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to No House Advantage, who is sponsoring our show today. And as per usual, we get it. I don't know how the NBA always times this perfectly, but Eric and I about to start the show. Adam and Josh log off, and what happens? Massive NBA news breaks kind of in the interim. So I thought we were going to start by talking about Kevin Porter Jr. being ruled out. But no. That's secondary because apparently everybody on the Kings is sick right now. The most important one, Domantas Sabonis being downgraded to questionable. So first, Eric, how are you doing? And then what are we going to do with, of course, a player being listed as questionable in the final game of the night?
Yeah, not just that. It's like the fantasy guy from the final game of the night that isn't, I mean, him, LeBron James, De'Aaron Fox, they're all kind of your core guys. De'Aaron Fox is going to look really, really good. And I thought Domantas Sabonis made sense as kind of a pivot off of some of the major centers. I mean, the guy has been unbelievable here of late, just filling up a box score on DraftKings with the triple-double bonus, the same way that Jokic just seems to be putting them up every night. Domantas Sabonis has been putting them up or close to putting them up every single night too. So it's a massive deal. I'm doing well still. Wife has like a bunch of premieres this week. So it's just, I'm on full dog daddy duty. Full dog daddy duty. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I took him to the groomer today. Oh my God. What a war zone taking $115 or 115 pound.
Oh my God, you're all 115
pound dog. See, I've seen some things this morning. He's trying to sniff every single dog. He wants to like go into the daycare center where it's all like 20 and under pound dogs. He's just clawing around trying to get over there. We've been some places this morning. I'm ready to talk basketball.
All right, so $115, and you could purchase Eric's dog from him. That is what we
don't think that's
right here.
No.
$115. Do we start the bidding? Does it go on eBay?
Is this a DraftKings marketplace on a Brock Purdy card? Is he going to be worth like 10 grand in a hot second?
It's the one of one. This is the one of one. It's the one of one Duke. Bidding starts at $115, and we go up from there. But most importantly, secondary, Duke is still number one to me. But Sabonis being listed as questionable, I tend to lean towards him not playing for a couple of reasons. Number one, we've talked about these situations before. When you get a player who's not on the injury report, is downgraded to questionable later on in the day, generally tends to be bad news. In addition to that, 2 other players got added to the injury report for the Sacramento Kings, also with illnesses. So it seems like there's some sort of flu or just bug going through Sacramento. At the very least, it's hard for me to imagine Sabonis is 100%, given the news we just got. He was downgraded to questionable. Matthew Dellavedova also downgraded to questionable. Alex Len has been ruled out. And the Len one normally wouldn't matter, but it kind of could be a little bit impactful if Sabonis is to be ruled out. So I don't think Sabonis plays tonight. Are you on the same page as me? And what are we doing with this?
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing because they have 48 different centers. I'm just kind of going through box scores over the last few because it's kind of been a roulette wheel, or at least that's the impression I get just from watching a lot of Sacramento games. It's always the late night hammer. I'm watching a lot of Clippers, a lot of Lakers, a lot of Kings out here on the West Coast. For the most part, it could be Metu, who, you go back to a couple of these spots where he ends up being the first guy off the bench to replace him there. Trey Lyles comes into play from the front court as well. This isn't like a Terrence Davis situation, more than likely a KZ Okpala situation, but we're looking primarily just at some of the bigs there. And then De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, all these guys are just going to see a pretty sizable bump. This game has a 246.5 total, 246.5. Everything stands out from it. If you're going to take the most fantasy relevant player from the Sacramento side off of it, it's going to be hard to figure out exactly what to do, but we'll be able to see that starter. There have been times where, God forbid, it's Alex Len. That would be the apocalypse, I think.
He's out. That was what I said.
Oh, good. That's what you said. I didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
I heard Dellavedova and I spaced out. Domantas Sabonis, whatever. I don't think he plays. I'm with you. When you get this late questionable, it's usually kind of the mark of con. I'm feeling pretty good about Kevin Huerter, De'Aaron Fox being guys that I'm getting pretty sizable bumps to.
Yeah, and just to read off some of those numbers, and also the Alex Len being out is part of the reason I think Sabonis won't play is, all 3 of these guys, Len, Dellavedova, Sabonis, all added to the injury report at the same time and Len ruled out. It makes me think these guys are, fairly sick, and I tend to think if Sabonis was a lesser player, they would have just ruled him out, but he's probably going to try to warm up and then I assume get ruled out shortly thereafter. But some of the numbers that we have to look at for the Kings this year, the big one, De'Aaron Fox, you mentioned him before, with Sabonis off the court this year, usage rate just north of 30% for Fox. He scores 48.35 DraftKings points per 36 minutes, 46.44 FanDuel points per 36 minutes. So massive boost goes to De'Aaron Fox. It's also a great matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers. And then we've got some super chats that are coming in, and I'm going to hit on those. And also, if you guys have questions for us in Discord, one of the perks being a Stokastic Platinum member, you could message me in the Discord and I'll be answering those as well. Also, 5-day free trial. We extended the free trial period. Was 3 days last year. This year, it is 5 days. And if you click on the link below in the description box, you will get a 5-day free trial. Get access to stuff like our Discord channel. You could ask us questions. But on the other side of the game, in addition to Sabonis being questionable, we've got LeBron questionable. I tend to think this is fake. I think he's just good to go. This is one of these weird LeBron's on the injury report situations, which unfortunately have been happening a lot lately. Are you like me where you're kind of disregarding and just assuming he plays?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy fix. Hopefully we get that news before 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. You have the Clippers. I think they're a pretty drastically different team without Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I think we'll be able to have a lot of pieces we want to get to there, and it's just fine. And then you can kind of readjust to news as long as it comes out 90 minutes beforehand on what happens with LeBron. But we saw so many times with him and Anthony Davis on the injury report 2 years ago, it was 2-3 years ago, basically, where it was kind of like a roulette wheel. You didn't know what you were going to get as far as their statuses went. But I'm with you. I think he plays. I think that we're looking really good there. And now if we're going to be building lineups under the assumption that Domantas Sabonis is out, I think we'll just have more roster spots to be able to get to some Lakers pieces as need be. Again, I'm just looking at De'Aaron Fox as somebody that I'm just going to be building around now. Like there's no way around it. You talked about some of the rates. He's overall 1.3 DraftKings points per minute guy with Domantas Sabonis off the floor this season. He's 8,300. He's facing the Lakers. I don't think a whole lot else needs to be said about him. Kevin Huerter, 5,400 because of the shooting guard, small forward eligibility. That looks good. And then Malik Monk, last guy, 4,100. I was planning on getting to a tiny bit of him already. Might give him a little bit of a boost just to have more Lakers exposure in the event that LeBron is ruled out, but I'm with you. I don't think he is.
Yeah, and obviously a bunch of other players on the injury report too. We'll be talking about those as we go along. Kevin Porter Jr., he was ruled out shortly before Sabonis was downgraded questionable. We got Anthony Edwards is questionable. Rudy Gobert is out. And then amidst all of the Clippers injuries, Ivica Zubac is also questionable. One of your guys there, Eric. But let's start talking about some of these super chats that we got that came in. And as for the poll, because people really want to know my take on this. Hippo or Silverback Gorilla? I'm not a pussy. I'm fighting both at the same time. Final answer.
Put Jimmy Butler in the ring. Make it all three at once.
Yeah. Well, here's the. I think also, if you put all three of us in, I think I could kind of talk the Hippo and the Gorilla into fighting each other and then sneak out the back door.
What is this? Godzilla? Didn't that happen in Godzilla? What was the one where all the different massive animals fought each other? Was that Godzilla? Like the most recent one? I think it was.
Yes. Yeah. There
was Samuel L. Jackson.
Snakes on a Plane.
No.
Was Samuel Jackson in Godzilla also?
He was like in the most recent one, I think, where Godzilla fought like a bunch of the other beasts.
The safe bet is if you just hear the name of a movie, you just throw it, Samuel Jackson's in. You get like an 85% chance to be right. He's in everything. So yeah, I'll just say, yeah, he was
Samuel
in
Jackson. He's good in everything. So at least that's good. I can't think of a bad Samuel L. Jackson performance.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Plus, my wife said he's awesome to work with. She worked on the new Shaft with him. Said he was just an awesome dude.
All right. Yeah, that's a porno, by the way. Next super chat is, first super chat. My filler arc wants to know RJ Barrett or Jamal Murray as the last man in on DK.
Neither.
Yeah, I don't. So there's a couple of reasons why I think the answer is neither. First of all, I think we want to give ourselves some flexibility with all the players that are questionable and guys that are going to be ruled out. I don't want to be locked into RJ Barrett in the first game of the night. So I'll say Jamal Murray just because it gives you the placeholder. His game starts later. That game has a 10 p.m. start time. So I'm going to say him just because he starts later. And I think that's viable as a placeholder. But ultimately, I don't think you really need to be playing either of those guys. Are you on the same page as me?
Yep. And I'm glad it was King Kong, not Godzilla. I saw a movie with a bunch of massive animals fighting other massive animals. Glad I found it out. That was good. Skull Island. Important.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was a very good movie, by the way.
I enjoyed it. That's what I'm saying.
King Kong was good.
Nobody talked about it.
Well, it's also old. It came out 10 years ago?
No, it wasn't that long ago. I was with my wife, so I know we saw it, and we've been together, 8 years? 8.5? So
you would know better than me. I don't know why you're asking me this question.
I don't know, because you guys set us up, because I dated you and then I dated her. That's how it works.
Good point. Let's see. King Kong came out in 2005.
2007? That's no. 2017? Is that what you're trying to say, Jordan Klein? 7 years? There you
2005 was the other King Kong. That's the one that I'm rolling with.
Yeah,
Dahmer 707. Patty Mills is dead to me. I owe Eric a beer. LOL.
Hey, how did Jordan Nwora? That was the guy I wanted to make sure sucked yesterday. I hope you're miserable. That's all.
So, but the Nets rotation was an absolute. Somehow we got away with Seth Curry. I played a bunch of Seth Curry, and
he got there.
I felt like an absolute moron in the first 3 quarters of the game. I think I went to go take a shit and came back, and he scored 15 fantasy points in 2 minutes. So but everything else on the Nets. So we got a good game out of Simmons. We got a good game out of Curry, good game out of Claxton yesterday. And everybody else sucked.
People come to the NBA Live Before Lock show for winners now. Did you hear that? That we're going to basically just be a betting show. And I'm going to hand out plus 900 Ben Simmons triple-double winners over and over and over.
Easy triple-double for Ben Simmons. Never a doubt about it. It was one of Eric's
offensive rebound that could have just been. I can't believe they gave him the offensive rebound because he basically ran into him simultaneously. He got in a charge situation while he grabbed the board.
And people were all excited. They were adding you on Twitter, but you couldn't see it because you're banned.
I don't even want to get into that on the show right now.
I mean, it's the conspiracy theories you throw out there. It's the racism, the conspiracy theory.
No,
absolutely. That's
I said. TJ McConnell was going to nuke a slate on somebody, and Twitter banned
people.
me.
Oh my god,
I'm shadow banned now. Just call me Eitan Shander, baby. Yeah. Eitan Shander Jr.
Place now. The world is a safer place. We no longer have Eric Lindquist on Twitter.
Leave me alone.
Christian Oliveira left us a super chat. There is no question there.
Aren't they fighting this weekend? Oliveira. That was an Oliveira joke.
Christian, there is a Simon Oliveira on the card. I
just looked at what my card said and tried to swap.
So, I mean, if there's a UFC card in Brazil, there's like a 95% chance there's an Oliveira on it.
It's fair. It's very fair. There's literally two brothers fighting on the same card. Like there's cards that I have to remind myself one is good and one is bad because I sold one that was good for way too cheap, just thinking it was the bad one. I didn't realize until somebody started sniping these cards very early. I was like, what am I doing here? And luckily I hadn't gotten to the rares of him yet because otherwise I would have been, down a lot more money.
Ishmael and Gabriel Bonfim, I think are their names. By the way, so we got a question from Christian Oliveira, who Eric is playing in DFS this weekend, but there's no question there. He has thrown some other stuff into the YouTube chat. So he wants to know, which animal would I rather fight? How about Joe Mama? Okay, so that might have been his super chat. The other one, he said Lego Boys, and then he said yeah, and then he just said Luka Garza. Are you playing? I'll say maybe this is his question. Is this a Luka Garza slate for you?
I thought about it. I've been dying to recommend Luka Garza on a slate, which is right. He's the rival. He played for the Hawkeyes. I'm a Cyclones guy, but it just comes down to, I want to see offensively what he's capable of doing if he plays 20 minutes a night, 25 minutes a night. It's just never going to happen because Naz Reid is really, really good. He can actually play some sort of defense, whereas Luka Garza cannot. So we'll just put it that way. Naz Reid, I have 100% of. I don't think I'm going to be pulling the Luka Garza, the lottery ticket. I don't think I'm going to be going for it today. If it were a smaller slate, if we didn't have Sacramento News, if we didn't have Clippers, if we didn't have a lot of late night hammer opportunity, I'd probably take some shots. And hey, if my lineups suck getting into that late night window, there's no rules. Sacramento, LA, Minnesota, Denver, I might have to get off of Naz Reid in some lineups, although I can't imagine the situation where that would happen.
And by the way, I just went because I'm pretty sure you texted me about Luka Garza at least on one occasion. So I went in my phone, I searched Garza, and I do have a text from you on December 16th. Play some 3K Garza. Because I knew there's no way there's anybody else who's ever texted me about Luka Garza, so I was able to find that. So Eric has been trying to make Luka Garza a thing, but like Fetch, it is not quite happening. Ace of Spade, Brunson, Murray, or Garland for tiers. I'm fairly sure that is Brunson. That is Garland for me. I meant to say with Mitchell out, but let me just double check that. Yeah, that Garland. Is that's Garland for me with no Mitchell.
If you watched that second half, and again, this isn't in the data. Like the data is doing a good enough job of encapsulating that I like getting to him on this slate. But just to throw it out there, that second half was like all him. He was unbelievable. Darius Garland just completely smashed once Donovan Mitchell was out of that game. I know that Josh was really high on Darius Garland as a leverage play. I think he just looks great. Even at 18.5%, I'm happy to be over that.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the numbers really quickly for Garland. Like I said, he's my answer, but I also want to back it with some of the numbers here and just read off to you guys what has happened with Darius Garland and his usage rate this season when there's been no Donovan Mitchell on the court. And Darius Garland usage rate inflates to 30%. He scores 44 DraftKings points per 36 minutes and 42.5 FanDuel points per 36 minutes when Donovan Mitchell's off the court. So that's going to be my answer there for you, Ace of Spades. Shout out to Braden Valmarine here. He gifted out 5 Stokastic YouTube memberships out to everybody. So everybody who got one from Braden, thank you, Braden, for the support. We appreciate you. Always cool to see people helping everything out. By the way, El Negro Loco, Greg, are you fighting the hippo or the gorilla? All right, so El Negro Loco, we got the news god himself, came in and he left us a question once. Now, I already threw down my answer. I'm fighting both of them at the same time because I'm not a pussy, right? We got Josh and Adam. They're like, I don't know which one I would have a better chance. I don't even care if I survive or not.
Duke,
I'm not turning down any challenges.
Duke would fight the hippo, I think.
Yeah, Duke showed up. He threw in his 2 cents. What's your final answer, hippo or gorilla?
I mean, I gotta go hippo, right? Like I gotta go hippo. Maybe I could just run the other direction. Are they crazy fast on land the way that some other animals, like crocodiles, are faster than you'd think?
You could zigzag though, and that fucks them up.
Oh, does it?
That's what I read once.
Oh, I've never read that or heard that.
Yeah, they can only move in straight lines. They can't go side to side. So you got to do, if you're ever being chased by a crocodile or an alligator, zigzag.
Well, I was told never to smile at a crocodile. Never tip your hat just to stop a while and not be taken in by their welcome grin.
I don't know whether I dislike that or the Achua thing more.
Oh, sorry. Again,
both of them gave me, both of those lines gave me indigestion, but that was gonna pretend that never happened. Another follow from Ace of Spades: Bam, Edwards, or Fox for tiers. I'm gonna say Fox just because I think Sabonis is gonna sit.
I'm playing a ton of Fox, and I will say I just reran some stuff because I was getting to a lot of Garland, and I'm getting to less. I'm getting to more Jalen Brunson now because people are just not clicking on that name anymore whatsoever. And Fox, I think we're just going to be playing an eternal amount. Luka Doncic is pretty clear cut who I want to get to the top end for. The guy I'm having a tough time with is LaMelo Ball. We'll get to that one when we get to that one. But yeah, these 8K guards, there's just so many good guard plays. I just want to get to some of the lower owned pieces.
I also feel like I could stiff arm a hippo.
Can we get done with this hippo crap? I mean, the hippo and gorilla thing. I mean, the people came here for 2 hours of gorilla talk and hippo talk. It's probably better than most of the information we give on a daily basis.
Yeah, we could talk more about Luka Garza or Precious Achua.
I didn't appreciate that.
By the way, Christian Oliveira left us another super chat, but the message is retracted this time. Well, this is getting complicated.
Are Christian, you my Twitter?
If you have a question for us, Christian, you don't have to leave another super chat. I'm searching your name. Just throw in whatever question you have into the YouTube chat, and I'll answer it. It doesn't have to be a super chat because you tried to leave 2 of them, and there haven't been questions in either of them.
It's not helpful.
I want to help him. I want
to know.
So I'm trying to look to see if there's more super chats. I'm scrolling through, and now it's just people debating hippos and gorillas. So it makes it a little bit harder to find some of those. But I'm pretty sure we hit on all of them. Jordan, here we go. I found some of the super chats. King fucking Dash. 3 players to not play in FanDuel Cash.
What's the screen name?
King fucking Dash.
All right. That caught me off. Caught me off guard. I heard nothing you said after that.
I mean, this is because there's a lot more than, you're only playing 9 guys. So there's a lot more there's a lot of guys you should not be playing, but who is somewhat popular for FanDuel Cash purposes that should not be in the lineup?
3 players to not play FanDuel Cash. What a fascinating question. I kind of like this question. You're playing Naz Reid. He's a lock and everything.
Okay, I have one. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm trying to think through how to answer this. One you should not play, who's projected for ownership today and actually projects well, is Sabonis, just because of the questionable status. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's people who just land on Sabonis if they're running an optimal lineup. You should not be playing Sabonis just because of the injury status and the potential for him being ruled out, and it would be hard to manipulate. So not him.
And then you shouldn't play Dennis Smith Jr. on FanDuel. He's pulling ownership, and I would not play him in any cash game situation. I'm not going to use one of my coveted guard spots on Dennis Smith Jr. today.
It's projected for 3% ownership, though.
But on FanDuel?
Yeah, he asked for FanDuel.
Oh, I thought he was pulling way more. I had him for more a second ago. I just updated the FanDuel stuff, so let me take a look at it. Okay, yeah, no, he's way lower now. I would... God, that's such a hard question. Maybe Jalen Green, just because Kevin Porter Jr. is playing now?
So another... Wait, what?
Right?
Was Kevin Porter Jr. ruled back in?
No, he's out. That's what I saw come through. Just making sure that he was ruled out. That's what mattered.
Okay. So
I have no idea what I'm talking about. This FanDuel thing just threw
apparent.
me off because I can't find this thing. I'm not playing FanDuel today, so I don't really care.
Okay, so
but I care for the super chat.
I'm going to say Sabonis should be one of them. As for other players they're picking up ownership, I am going to say no on Jose Alvarado right now on FanDuel. He's expected to be really popular. I would prefer to give myself some of the flexibility. And, I get it as a points per dollar play. Alvarado looks decent right now on FanDuel at 5K, but I think there's going to be better players that open up later on in the day. So in terms of guys that I think you have a pretty good chance of landing on, Sabonis would be one that I'd say no to. And then Alvarado would be another one.
Eric needs a vacation. Eric needs this. Eric needs that. I made one mistake. I was looking at the thing and I had a 0 next to that, but I still had a projection in on Kevin Porter Jr. I hadn't taken it off. I don't know if you know this. There's a lot of things going on, trying to update it, trying to give you guys good information and not talk about hippopotamuses.
I guess if I had to say one other one, TJ McConnell is up to $7,600 on FanDuel.
Boy.
Maybe people might be box score watching and just say like, hey, let's go play TJ McConnell. $7,600 though. That's certainly got to be too expensive for him at this point.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I'll say TJ McConnell is my other one. I hope that answers your question. And if not, throw a message into the YouTube chat and I'll do what I can to help you out. But I think that should address the question you asked us.
I didn't say it's tough. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things going on. I'm trying to update a ton of Sacramento and try to tell you how to best play this slate. And I am really, really starting to stack it up in a certain way. I mean, we've got news that is pending all over the board later on, whether it's LeBron, Sabonis, Anthony Edwards. Like, there's going to be some really good plays coming up a little bit later in the night. I want to make sure that I get the right ones.
And we just got a follow-up from Christian Oliveira. He's saying, hey guys, I was just sending a tip, no questions, but thanks for trying, LMAO. All right, well, we appreciate just little tip, but actually it ended up being multiple tips, tip. So we appreciate the super chat, and you could still throw in a question. I would have answered it. But you. We do have, because Marcos posted in chat, there is no Oliveira on the card. There's an Oliveira on the card. There is a Simon Oliveira fighting Daniel Marcos. Next super chat we have is from Hippopotamus. Say my name, Lindquist.
You're goddamn right it is.
I think he wants you to say Hippopotamus.
Oh, say my name.
No.
Hippopotamus.
No. You have to say Hippopotamus.
Goddamn right it is. I just want to do my Walter White.
Can you say hippopotamus though?
Hippopotamus.
There we go. All right.
My lyrics are bottomless.
That was maybe one of the best scenes ever in TV.
It was pretty incredible. Flight of the Conchords. Or no, we're talking Walter White. Yeah, the Say My Name. It's incredible. There are multiple parts of Breaking Bad that I get chills whenever I see a clip of it or anything else. Like for me, the best scene maybe ever is in the garage. Like the Walter. The confrontation in the garage. I don't even know who you are. Well, if I were, then I would probably tread lightly.
I still like to say my name a little bit better, but that's awesome. Those are two of the better scenes in the show. Agreed. I did not like the movie, the follow-up. I just didn't really care for Jesse's character that much.
Yeah. El Camino. It was okay. I mean, I would have taken anything. The best part of that movie was when Walter White shows up and they have the flashback scene. Like that was the best one. But yeah, otherwise,
Let's hit on some of the questions we have in Discord, and this one is from The Process. Do you think LaMelo is worth the price tag or a drop down for Fox? Small DK, high stakes. I prefer Fox.
Yeah, by a landslide now, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. I think Ball. I was already trying to find reasons to get away from 21%. He's going to be very, very popular regardless. You still have no Gordon Hayward. You still have no Kelly Oubre. He's doing a lot for this basketball team, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. There's guys who are cheaper than him who project really well for me that are lower owned. There's guys who project for a crazy amount of raw points that are at the exact same ownership, that being Luka Doncic. Why wouldn't I just get to those two extreme ends of the poll? Give me the 8K, give me the 12 for Luka. It just makes all the sense in all the land to go more towards them, considering Ball is pulling tons of ownership. He's playing Houston. I get it. He's a good fantasy point per minute guy. I mean, he's 9,600. He's very expensive for what you would want to be paying for LaMelo Ball in a lot of circumstances. And then having 21% ownership attached to it when you can get somebody, I guarantee you, regardless of what happens in the next 26 minutes, he's going to be higher owned than De'Aaron Fox later in the night. And I'm going to project him about the identical, right around the identical amount of fantasy points.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's actually points per dollar. It would be Fox even if Sabonis was to play. And so then just the possibility of Sabonis being out would make him even more of a priority. But some more super chats here. This one is from Ace of Spade, Şengün or Giddey for tiers. I prefer Şengün now that we have Kevin Porter Jr. out. He was it's a bigger impact on Jalen Green than it is on Şengün, but Şengün's also really good lately, and it does help him out a little bit. So I'm going to lean towards Şengün there. Do you see it any differently?
I just love Şengün. I do find it pretty crazy that it took a 70 ball against the Lakers to really nuke. He's to get the ownership up there. He's been really low owned on a lot of these slates now. At 7,700, maybe that keeps a lot of people away. He's still 11%. He still projects north of 40 fantasy points in this spot, playing bigger minutes. He's just an awesome offensive center. But yeah, it took a massive outing for him to get that number up to a place where he's not going to project way out of this world for me. So I've been playing tons of Şengün. I'm going to stay on that end.
We got some more super chats. This one's from Liker. Wasn't Eric the Şengün Whisperer? Is he a good play today?
Yes.
So Eric, you've been labeled the Şengün Whisperer, which you quickly take credit for. He said, "Are you the Şengün Whisperer?" Eric immediately said yes. So are you playing Şengün tonight?
Oh, you didn't like that. Sorry, dude. Yeah, no, I absolutely love Alperen Şengün tonight.
It's
just saying that it's one of those things where like now at 7,700, it's not as convenient as what it once was to be able to just jam him on every single slate. Also, it was really, really sad that he decided to do that on Monday on a day where I didn't get to capitalize it because I played pretty low volume for the evening. Slate didn't play any showdown there. So thanks a lot, Şengün. Thanks for doing it then for me, pal.
Yeah, for today, he's in my player pool. There's other centers I prefer, though. Like, we have Naz Reid on the slate.
Yeah, and Miles Turner's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Naz Reid. We've got Miles Turner. Walker Kessler's also somebody who I think we should be getting to. So he's in my player pool, but it's somebody that I have a hard time prioritizing today.
Understood.
The other question we got was tiers related, and that kind of made a big difference.
Oh, get him a Kleenex.
You're doing this on purpose at this point, like aggressively.
I am. It's fun.
I don't like it.
I know. Well, I have to keep you off balance, and everybody's like, "Oh, Eric, he's high from the fumes of the dog place," and Eric's being weird today. Honestly, I'm just so tired. I've been on 3 walks trying to get him tired so that I could do an hour and a half show here, be able to record a little bit later. It'll be okay. Also, he's just a big dog. And when he gets aggressive and wants to like not do something, it's hard for me to stop him from doing it.
All right. We've got a troll question here from Ben Anthony. Lindy, any exposure to Andrew Tate on DK at 3K?
Oh. Maybe your mom's. I don't know.
All right. So Andrew Tate, who is he in prison right now? Or is he not in prison?
Oh, Andrew Tate. That's the guy who got arrested for child trafficking.
What did you think? What did you think?
Oh, I thought you said taint. I said maybe your mom's. I don't know. That's what I heard.
The next super chat we have is from Devin Neiman, $4,200 left and needs a power forward for DK single entry. Where should he go? Power forward, 4,200. Let me see who comes out the best for me at 4,200. Power forward, DraftKings. That is Kevin Love for me.
4,200.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Monk. Are we not? Wait, we're talking any position.
Power forward.
Power forward. Well, there you go. There's the stipulation I don't like. 4,200. I'm looking.
While you're answering, it's a tough price point because
it's
4,300, especially if Zubats is ruled out. I think it could be a pretty decent spot to get to Nick Batum. But below that, there's nobody that I really particularly love. Like, you've got
Covington.
You've got Covington there as well. But I as things stand right now, I prefer Love to Covington. So Love is my answer.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We can basically just play a lot of Clippers, a lot of Minnesota, a lot of Sacramento. You're going to have a lot of evening exposure if you just kind of nuke a couple of those spots. Like, I don't know who I'm going to necessarily roster from some of those places. Like, I want to get Sabonis news. I want to get Anthony Edwards clarification. I'm playing Naz Reid no matter what. Clippers, we want to see the starting lineup. Lots of things where I just kind of want some confirmation on pieces, and my opinions are going to change. So as of right now, 7:09 p.m. Eastern time, hard to give you like a definitive yes or a no.
I don't know if Emacs in the chat, but we did get a follow-up. So apparently here is what the super chat was a troll from. So Opposite XO in the Discord channel says that the old man on the weekend show, dead serious, called Jay Sean Tate Andrew Tate for an entire show. I don't know which part I think about that is funniest, because either the fact that Emac got Andrew Tate and Jay Sean Tate confused, that in itself is hilarious, or that Opposite XO just calls Emac the old man who does the weekend show.
I mean, can we just get somebody over to Emac to check on him and tuck him in? He's up past his bedtime. Can we get him a warm glass of milk and just, maybe a blanket? We need a caretaker for Emac at this point. What do you do? Oh, there he is. I beg to differ. I don't know what he was responding to, but
we're
so
going
good.
to.
He called him Andrew Tate the whole show.
Let's see. We're gonna have to pull receipts on this. Opposite XO. If you have any receipts you could send me so we could post this on Twitter.
Oh,
please. I'm gonna look for this now.
Yeah, and then I can't see it anyway. That'll be great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe this will get you back on Twitter at some point. Surely we could petition to Twitter and be like, hey, Eric needs to see videos of Emac being an old man, and maybe
elder abuse. Yeah, feels like that. I love the man. Emac 2024.
Avi Schreier, Westbrook, or Brunson on FanDuel. I'm not really playing either of them today, I don't think.
Oh, I like Brunson. I like Brunson for tournaments.
I prefer Brunson. At the same time, too, though, I mean, he is, let's see, what is the price point now on
8,500. He's playing 44 minutes a night. He's averaged 34 minutes a night on the season. He's up to 43, 44. And I think it's just really hard to like project him there every single time out. Because like last time we had the overtime game that got him to 43, but like he was playing 42, 40, 42. I mean, it's just wild for a guy to be averaging 34 minutes a night. Now you're doing that. We have him for 38 and a half minutes here at Stokastic. I think just from a minutes perspective, he has to be evaluated a little bit differently. Washington, not some kind of intimidating matchup. They give up, 18th in oppositions in terms of 3-point percentage. They're really good at guarding the mid-range, better around the rim as well. So like you can definitely have Jalen Brunson out there chucking, and wouldn't be surprising in any way, shape, or form. Although his 3-point volume is down as of late as well. So a lot of push and pull there. All a little bit of fluff to get to the point that I like Jalen Brunson simply because he's 8,500, has a pretty pronounced upside, double upside for DraftKings purposes because he's racking up assists in a pretty phenomenal way too.
So if it's between the two, I would say Brunson, but to me, you got De'Aaron Fox the same price point, and I would just say
that's my priority too.
Go to him. So the FanDuel price is Brunson's 86, Westbrook's 84, Fox is 83. I pretty strongly prefer Fox over that trio. So Avi, if he's not in your lineup, I'm going to say go with De'Aaron Fox over Westbrook or Brunson. He's going to easily project the best if we end up finding out that Domantas Sabonis is not playing.
I do have a couple of things I want to say about the Kings because I just questions. What did you take Sabonis out already from your projections?
I left him in, but I gave Gordon Hayward just officially ruled out. I left him in, but I just gave Fox a thumbs up in Fantasy Cruncher, so he would pop up in a bunch of lineups.
Okay. Because I just projected him out with Sabonis off the floor because what we had a base rate of 1.2 here. I put him in for 1.35 fantasy points per minute. Slight uptick from the 1.33 he is without Sabonis. Part of that is just a 0.02 bump I'm giving because it's the Lakers on the other side of this one. Game should be flying. Vegas tells me that. So I've got him for 48.5 fantasy points. Just throwing it out there. I'm not sure what we're going to be changing him to here if Sabonis gets ruled out, but that's a pretty sizable increase. And he already looked good at 42 fantasy points before that. So just want to clarify how much I like him. He is my I just have a crazy amount of him right now.
Yeah, I like Fox a whole bunch. And like I said, I just did it a really simple way for now because I've got exposure to the late games.
Right.
I found it easy. I just gave Fox thumbs up in Fantasy Cruncher. He ended up popping up in about half my lineups. And I think it's a pretty good setup for now. And then as things come later in the day, we'll end up adjusting. We've got the 30-minute post-lock show, by the way, as well. So we're going to be sticking around. We're going to be talking about No House Advantage. If you guys haven't checked out No House Advantage yet, they're the sponsor of our show today. Sign up by clicking on the link we have below, which now gets you up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. But in addition to that, they also have props you can play against the house. And Eric and I are going to be breaking some of those down in the post-lock show. But in addition, we're going through any news that's going to impact FanDuel or DraftKings as players get ruled in, get ruled out, and starting lineups come out. We've got a super chat from Hippopotamus, and it is a sticker of hippopotamuses.
Love it.
Hippopotamuses. Is that what it is, pluralized?
I don't think it's hippopotami.
Well, it could just be hippopotamus.
Oh, it could be.
Jeff Campbell, top 3 favorite Clippers for FanDuel. So this is a little tricky because we don't know if Zubats is playing or not.
Mm-hmm.
I have him in for now. That could change, though.
Yep,
so the three that I like the most, Norman Powell, Nick Batum, and Marcus Morris on FanDuel.
And let me just say, I will have an absurd amount of Zubats if he plays tonight.
For right now, though, I have Zubats in. Batum, Powell, Morris are the 3 I got to the most on FanDuel.
Are you playing both?
I have lineups built for FanDuel, but I'm not playing on both. I'm only playing on DraftKings. This is one of those slates where I just assumed that it was going to be hard to keep up with all the news as it goes along. So only playing on DraftKings, but I do build lineups out just for the purpose of hosting the show on both sites, regardless if I'm playing on one or both. Super chat from Mike L. Last man in for a FanDuel GPP, 5,500 and below for a small forward. Let's see.
Last man FanDuel GPP.
55
below small forward. All right. So there's the caveat I was looking for. Kind of
that
gross.
That is Benedict Mathurin for me.
Same.
All right. So Mathurin, that is the answer. If Zubats is to be ruled out, the answer would become Marcus Morris for me. But at least as of right now, I think Mathurin makes sense. Good option. Well, a lot of super chats today. I want to make sure that we're hitting on all of these. Jorge, are we jamming in tons of Luka today, Eric? Besides Reed, who do you have in more than 50% of your lineups?
I have nobody else in more than 50% of my lineups besides Naz Reid, who I have 100% of. So I want to throw that out from the get-go. The next highest known I have 48% De'Aaron Fox right now. That's a lot of De'Aaron Fox, and it's a placeholder to a certain extent because I won't want 48% if you get Domantas Sabonis playing. Greg and I are on board where we both think that he's going to be out. I should be able to spread that around to Minnesota pieces, Denver pieces, Clippers pieces, Lakers pieces. Should be a lot of ways that I can Reese's pieces that together and shouldn't have too big of an issue. I think if you were to make me pick another person to play in more than 50% of my lineups today, it's got to be De'Aaron Fox at this point in time if you assume that Sabonis is out. But like as it stands right now, there's just nobody that I think you should be getting to that kind of a level. It's a weird slate where we don't have 3K value that I find to be all that good. Like I don't find any 3K pieces nice, and that makes it less advantageous to just jam Luka. I project him for almost 67 fantasy points today, and that still does not get me to above 35% of him. Now, I like him a lot, and I generally have played a lot of him on these types of slates, but like Robert Covington is still a piece I'm not like 100% on board with yet. Maybe that changes a little bit later, but I have enough of everything from the late night window. I can maneuver that around as need be, but like Luka, I can't imagine I'm going to be jamming it with all the good guard plays today.
Clint Capella said he'll be limited to around 23 minutes. All right, that is a very specific number, but that is the news we got there. Some more super chats. Shane Daly, big day. Hippopotamuses, great scene. Fox, uptick without Sabonis. Yes. Fox benefits more than anybody on that team if Sabonis is to be ruled out. We're going through some of the on-off court numbers before, and I think it's totally reasonable to have a projection of around 50 fantasy points for De'Aaron Fox in a scenario where there is no Domantas Sabonis. We got
shout out Malik Monk too, 1.16 DraftKings points per minute.
Another super chat. This one is from, once again, Hippopotamus. This is a sticker of a hippopotamus delivering an uppercut. It says KO. Hippopotamus going to knock us all out. Over at 14, how much Brian saying Sabonis is out for the DK Hippo fight tonight? I'm not really going to make any difference for Thomas. To me, I don't think Sabonis being out would make a massive difference for Thomas Bryant.
Agreed. Oh boy, the amount of Trey Lyles I have right now is disturbing now. I just nuked that. 3,700. He's going to be the guy that I play over Robert Covington more than likely. Trey Lyles could play a lot more than you think.
Teddy Wayman is asking us, what are our thoughts on Walker Kessler for FanDuel? Walker Kessler over on FanDuel.
See, that's tough because he's 7,900. I couldn't do it over there.
I didn't get to him very much in the 150 lineups I built. He popped up in 2% of them. It's really just a price point thing. He's so expensive there. And I get that he's been ridiculously good as of late, but still, that's a steep price tag.
I'd like to call myself the Walker Kessler whisperer too. I think I've been tweeting about that guy for about the past 2 months. Part of that is like a cell phone because I'm a sad, miserable Minnesota sports fan who doesn't really want to be here anymore. But other than that lovely note of joy, Walker Kessler is really fun to watch play basketball. He is really good at enforcing around the rim. He would almost look like, I don't know, his game might comp Rudy Gobert, the guy we traded a bunch of picks for, and now we're screwed. Thanks.
Yeah, I would. So contract is at play as well, but I would rather have Walker Kessler straight up than Rudy Gobert right now, just because of. I mean, I think they've been like kind of comparable this year, but Walker Kessler is younger. He is a significantly better contract, so that is the.
He's fun. He's a young piece that it's just like keep doing what you're doing, and I think he's still got some offensive game that he can grow into. Like, I'm very, very, very not well that we don't have Walker Kessler in a Minnesota uniform.
All right, going to try to bang out some questions. Abby Schreier, Miles Turner, or Kuzma on FanDuel. That is Miles Turner for me.
Miles Turner. I'm obsessed with Miles Turner today.
Eric is obsessed with Miles Turner.
Yeah, very
Sam
much
Cassell Dance. Is there anything wrong with playing McConnell and Nembhard in the same lineup? Nope. Neither of them are priorities for me today, but if you have them both in the same lineup, I think it's the
part of me wants to just jam TJ McConnell so that I can just go at Jesse, Mr. Forsaken. Well, I can't go on Twitter. I'll have to do it.
You're banned from Twitter.
Yeah, there's Discord for that.
You're gonna play somebody you don't like to troll somebody you can't troll.
I'm gonna open an account called TJ McConnell fan account and just tweet at him all night. That sounds fun.
T-Lee wants to know if we could run down our most rostered players by position. And yeah, we could do that right now. I just uploaded my lineups. How are you doing on that?
I'm done. I already got them up.
Cool. All right. So
I'm only playing 40 lineups tonight, so it was pretty easy.
You want to do it for DraftKings and I'll do it for FanDuel then?
Sure.
Okay.
42 lineups to be exact, but oh shit. Hold up. What would you do? Get up off my feet and stop making tired excuses. I don't think anybody remembers that song.
Yeah. What are we waiting for, by the way? I was about to ask you a question. You said, wait.
Yeah, because I said no, because I made a bad mistake on one thing. This is what happens when you kind of like on the fly try to fix things and then you do the opposite. You ruin your life and you get Keegan Murray in like 80% of things. So I'm running it. All right, I've got a new batch. There we go. That would have been
most
bad.
rostered point guards on DraftKings.
All right. At guard, I am getting to De'Aaron Fox now. He's number 1. Luka Doncic 2, TJ McConnell 3.
Point guard over FanDuel. I've got De'Aaron Fox and Darius Garland. Shooting guard for you.
Malik Monk, Dyson Daniels, Norman Powell.
Norman Powell and Jalen Green on FanDuel. Small forward for you.
Dyson Daniels, Norman Powell, Buddy Hield.
Batum, Powell, Morris, Karis LeVert, power forward, Eric.
100% Naz Reid, Trey Lyles, and then Keegan Murray.
Batum, Marcus Morris, I also had them at small forward before. Aaron Gordon's a little underpriced on FanDuel, only 6,400. And then Miles Turner's another one that was popping up for me on FanDuel. Center for you.
So Naz and Lyles are off the board for that one. We'll do the 3 eligible center guys. Jokic, Turner, Şengün for me.
Yeah, center, Naz Reid. It's pretty hard to get away from him. I think he's the best overall play on the slate. He's going to be popular, but
who cares?
Makes sense based on what we've seen from his start. The one game he really failed, he got hurt somewhere around the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter. I forget exactly when it was. Other than that, he's generally crushed as a starter and he's underpriced. Let's hit on some of these Discord questions. Thoughts on Lyles on DK if no Sabonis? I would like him a whole bunch. Seems like Eric's on the same page. Trey Lyles. Correct. Yeah, Trey Lyles would be a great pivot, great late swap option.
And if you get stuck with Trey Lyles, I don't know if you guys have watched him play basketball recently. Again, Sacramento's a team I end up watching a lot because I feel like I'm always higher on like a piece from them every single game. It's usually been Sabonis. But he's played his way into like a larger role on this basketball team, been playing low 20s minutes pretty routinely for them. I think there's an outside chance that he gets the start. Maybe they just decide to keep bringing him off the bench because that's all he's done all year long. They could go to like a Rashawn Holmes, Alex Len, Metu. Doesn't really matter who it is there. You'll be able to get exposure to them because they're 3K flat. And so if you want to pre-build one of them, you have access to all of them. But Trey Lyles, 3,700 is just a piece that I'm making way for.
JEW, any Luka Garza love for DraftKings single entry? No, not on single entry. And Bloopy wants to know Lyles on FanDuel where he's 5,100. Too steep for me. I don't even know how Trey Lyles got to be priced up to $5,100 on FanDuel, but no.
Absurd.
He's
3,700 on DK. That's the reason. And I got a little bit more Luka as a result, and I'm just fine with that.
Timma 2937 wants to know who do I like better, Garland or Fox? I have more Fox exposure.
Yeah, Fox is my highest on guard right now.
Then we've got Blinky asks, does Sabonis being questionable add more risk to LeBron being out? I don't think so. LeBron is, I mean, we've seen LeBron get listed as questionable by the Lakers for like entire seasons. And more times than not, every once in a while, it's a boy who cried wolf situation, which always makes it hard with LeBron because he has also missed more games over the last couple of years. But by and large, when he's listed as questionable, it's Fugazi. And I write it off. So I tend to think LeBron's just playing. Maybe I'll be on the wrong side of that. But do you think the status of Sabonis has any impact on LeBron's status?
No.
Yeah, so we're on the same page with that. Next question is from Opposite Exo. This one is an actual basketball question. This is not related to EMAC. Would you play LaMelo Ball or SGA? Are you paying up elsewhere? So my favorite pay up option today is Luka.
Yeah, Luka's my favorite too. Somebody said, quit watching Eric Pockets. I don't know what that is saying. Eric, 40 nickel lineups. What a clown. I'm not playing the nickel. I can tell you that much.
How do you, when we get a super chat,
yeah,
like you're always confused. You don't know what position people are asking about. You don't know what site. Somebody posts an innocuous message about Eric in chat. He knows it like this. He's all on top.
No, that's not true. No, I was reading to see if anybody picked up on what I said before. What would you do if your son was at home? And of course, John Krolikowski Jr. comes in clutch. Appreciate that. Holmes is sneaky. Yeah, everybody's sneaky there. And then somebody said, what about Ricky Rubio? And that distracted me because if you have Ricky Rubio today, rethink your life.
Yeah, no Ricky Rubio.
0. And again, if there was somebody to come up with a case for Ricky Rubio or for Luka Garza, for either one of those guys who are just completely unowned, I'm thinking about that stuff all day. Who can be the 1 point of deviation in my lineups? Neither of those are it for today.
RaceFan22 left us a super chat. Buddy Hield or Mobley at forward on DraftKings. Let's see, Buddy Hield or Evan.
I like
Mobley.
Buddy Hield. I talked about it a little bit about him.
Buddy Hield for me.
Yeah, I like him.
Buddy Hield.
Hey, buddy, hope you find your dad.
Probably the best Christmas movie ever.
For sure.
And we're caught up on the super chat. Some more questions in Discord. We've got Fow Wow wants to know for FanDuel GPP Marcus Morris or Trey Lyles. Marcus Morris
For sure.
And then scrolling back to earlier, we had actually might have answered all of these.
That was FanDuel specific, right on them.
Marcus. What's your feeling about Marcus Morris as a pivot off of Naz Reid? I like Marcus Morris individually. I'm not punting on Naz Reid to go to Marcus Morris though.
I'm not pivoting off of anybody that I have in 100% of my lineups.
Sam Cassell Dance, is it ridiculous to not include Jokic or Doncic in single entry? Not ridiculous. No. My preference is to get to Luka in single entry, but I don't think you need him.
Yeah, I mean, they're both positions that are stacked. That's the main reason I would say it's definitely not. Like, if there were a Giannis on this slate, I would probably just be playing him by default of like, I like all the other positions where there's, those two are still your most pronounced spend ups, but like, I don't really need to force it when you have Miles Turner and Şengün and all of the guys who are power forward center eligible there at center. And then at point guard, we have De'Aaron Fox, we have TJ McConnell, we have Luka Doncic. Well, I'm comparing to Luka Doncic. You have LaMelo Ball if you want to do that. D'Angelo Russell has a chance of not having Anthony Edwards. Lots of ways where that news could break down for you.
Sam, Josh, 111, convince me to not click Reggie Jackson, assuming he starts.
You can do it. I don't. He's super cheap. He ended up back in the rotation last game. I thought about it. He was somebody that I had my eye on for today. I think if he starts, you can obviously play him for sure, but I don't think he starts over anybody in this rotation right now.
I mean, the other thing too, when it comes to, like you said, he's been out. It tells you what they think about him. He's been out of the rotation lately.
Yeah, played the last two.
So, I mean, there's other players that I prefer getting to today.
Yeah, I assume. What do you think the starting five is for the Clippers, assuming Zubats is in?
Starting five of Zubats is in.
So I think Man still plays the point. I don't think Reggie Jackson comes in. I think Amir Coffey starts.
1 sec, because I'm just uploading.
You're fine.
This, and then I'll have an answer for
take your time.
All right, there we go. All right, we're good. All right, so all right,
did you get it in?
Yeah, I did, but I pressed the upload on DraftKings and then it was just spinning for a second. So let me look at the. But do you have a lean on whether Zubats plays or not?
I think he plays, and I have a lot of him. All relative. I have like 22% of him. He's not even in my top 5, but that's because I have 2 guys that are power forward eligible in Lyles, who, again, I'm jamming for the sake of late swap. I can turn some of those positions into some Zubats, different salary structure, obviously, but I have so much exposure to the late night window. It should be pretty easy for me to get to as much Zubats as I want there, as long as he's playing. And Utah, they're not so good at the old rebounding of the basketball. Even with Walker Kessler out there, it's pretty wild to see some of the rebounding rates going up against them. So I'm going to kind of just trust what I'm seeing there, and I'm going to get to Moses Malone, also known as Vika Zubats.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure this is the same lineup you just said. I'm going to go Man, Coffey, Batum, or Zubats.
Yep, that's the starting 5 I have.
And we do have a note from, who is it? That's, oh, here we go. Yeah. Apparently, green check mark on Amir Coffey.
Oh my God. Well, then it's over, right?
It's been a while since the green check mark's been in our life.
It's been a while since I could hold my head up high.
I highly doubt you're holding your head up high.
I'm a depressing person. Coffey. I assumed Coffey was starting all day, and that's where I think he's one guy. I don't have a ton of him. He's not all that interesting, but he could play giga minutes here. Like, there's an outside chance. If they want to keep Reggie Jackson playing 14, 15 minutes here in this rotation and not really give him any extra run, I just think everything goes to Amir Coffey.
So we are now at lock. Eric and I are going to be talking about NHA. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite props of the night. But reason for you guys to stick around. And by the way, if you haven't liked the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We still got players on the injury report. Official list is questionable. LeBron is questionable. I tend to think he's going to play. Domantas Sabonis, he's questionable. I tend to think he sits. Anthony Edwards is questionable. I've got no clue whether Anthony Edwards is going to play or not. Edwards has been banged up a whole bunch lately. He's dealing with that hip injury. He had to leave a game early. He missed a game because of it. So Anthony Edwards is another one that I'm not really sure what to make of. I'd say probably a little bit more likely to play than to sit, but another one, not totally sure. And then we've also got Zubats is questionable. We spent some time talking about him. Do you have a lean on whether Edwards is going to be in or out?
No lean at all. Like, I think you could flip a coin, 50-50. I could see it going any direction. It doesn't really impact me. Again, it's almost like a gracious thing where Sabonis has us building lineups later. We're the way you and I are playing, we're trying to capitalize on late news, under-own pieces, think that long-term, even if you don't win today, that's the best structure for doing it long-term, paying attention, being by your computer to react to random starting lineups. I should be able to get to enough D'Angelo Russell, to enough Kyle Anderson. I already have 100% Naz Reid. So, like, there's not much for that to change, but should be pretty easy for me to kind of fit my lineups however it needs to be.
Got another super chat that just came in. This one is from, and still got some time here. He just left the super chat. I wanted to make sure that these players weren't already locked. Roll Tide, HMD, Fox and Garland, or LeVert and Jokic. Fox and Garland for me.
Fox and Garland.
All four of those guys
My single entry team today has all road players. That's interesting.
Let me see.
It has no point in saying that other than that.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, a lot of the best options on the slate are on the road, but yeah, it's no real correlation between playing guys that are on the road. But yeah,
none. It's just that all the highlighted things, as I was like, because I always go in and make sure that I hand build out to make sure that I have all my swaps set up and just to double check how the salary stuff goes back and forth. But yeah, just interesting to see it all highlighted on the left side of the screen.
Got another question in Discord, and so we'll hit on this, and then we're going to start to look at NHA, some of the props. So, Jordan, if you could get NHA ready to pull up on the screen after Eric and I answer any of the remaining questions, then we'll hit on that because a couple of these just came in. First, Miami High Life. Best play $3,800 for $3,800 and under for a DK GPP.
Trey Lyles.
Let's see, 3,800 and under.
Trey Lyles, Robert Covington, 1-2.
It's going to be. I'm gonna agree with you and say Trey Lyles, but obviously with the caveat, this is dependent on Sabonis being out. Sabonis
Correct.
plays. We don't want anything to do with this guy. But if we do end up seeing Sabonis get ruled out, Trey Lyles becomes a really good value option, who I assume is not going to be massively popular, depending when the news breaks. If it comes out in 10, 15 minutes, sure. But if this is something that doesn't come out until later, I doubt that he would pick up that much steam. So good call. I'm going to agree with you on Sabonis.
Thank you for the caveat, because I just had flashbacks to last year when I had 100% Naz Reid. He got announced as not starting for Cat. It was like in March or April of last year, and I went from having 100% to 0, and the guy just went at me on Twitter. And now nobody can go at me on Twitter.
No.
I'm immune.
It's just you going at yourself because you're very... So Eric tried to quit Twitter and it didn't work. They did it for you. Now you got no choice.
Doing what I can't do for myself.
Hippopotamus wants you to look him in the mouth, by the way. There you go.
That's my best Jordan Klein impression.
We've got that's one that's only for us, but it is true. Best play on the 8 p.m. turbo slate for DK.
Oh, let's get deep cut with it. Let's go. This is like I don't know, what's like the best B-side album. This is like Sawdust or trying to think of like a Killers album that I really am just like, oh, that was off the beaten path, but like truly. Yeah, I'm done. Let's just do this.
So the answer is KJ Martin. We just got the starting lineup for the Rockets. I was assuming he was going to start, and he is. The starting 5 for Houston. So there's no Kevin Porter Jr. for the team. Jalen Green, Eric Gordon. We've got KJ Martin, Jabari Smith, and Şengün as the starting 5. So I really do like KJ Martin as a value play, and kind of correlates with the question. Good timing that came out right then. Is KJ Martin somebody that you're getting to on the main
it's KJ Martin, and I got so many keys. You think I'm Valet Parkington? No.
Does that mean you're playing him or not?
Yeah, I have a little,
right,
not much. Go. I don't have a lot.
I'm never exactly sure what the songs mean. That one was a pro KJ Martin song. The next question.
Pro KJ Martin song.
Money Making Mitch. Oh, is it? This isn't our old friend Mitch, is it?
Oh, stop. It's been a while. It's been a hot second since that guy was around. That's probably a good thing for everybody involved.
Lyles or Morris on FanDuel. Funny, this is the second or third time we've seen a Lyles versus Morris. That is Marcus Morris for me.
Yeah, Marcus Morris. Again, FanDuel, different thing. Lyles is 3,700 on DK. Completely different conversation.
And for people asking in the chat, Eric did get banned for dangerous behavior on Twitter.
No, that's not true. Steve McKee, Eric always bringing the fire. I try. I'm glad some people appreciate it because, again, this artistry isn't for everybody.
Yeah, I hope he would start a literal fire and his microphone would blow up in his face. Because that's what it would be justified. So
HR department. We need an HR department. I need it now.
I still have to, I mean, this
I would be in there. HR would be like therapy. It would be like in Billions. I would just be walking in the office to talk about things and why I'm not performing and why I'm stuttering on shows. I'm tired. I'm worked up. Okay. I'm worked up. Greg's always making fun of me. Eric was making threats on Twitter. I was not making threats on Twitter. I said TJ McConnell needs to nuke the slate.
It was a bomb threat. It was a bomb threat. Everybody knows. You don't say bomb on an airport. In an airport, you don't say it in a movie theater, and you certainly don't say it on Twitter. You're a risk to society. Avi Schreier, McDaniels or McDaniels on FanDuel? McDaniels. All day. McDaniels or McDaniels? I like McDaniels.
I like McDaniels too.
All right, that answers all of those questions. Every time I think that we've answered the questions, another one comes in.
Eric Gordon is a good spot without Kevin Porter Jr. I can't even talk about that. I looked at the rates. Eric Gordon, it kind of surprised me at first. And then I played him against Sacramento, and I immediately regretted everything that I have ever done with my entire life all at once, as I watched Eric Gordon put up like 14, 2-1 and didn't matter. It would take a lot for me to roster Eric Gordon on tonight's slate.
David Porter. Oh my God, Eric, are you a terrorist? Yes, he is. We've got another one here. This is Almost Human. Criminal Eric, Guitar Man 247. Feds shutting this down with the bomb threat. Yikes. He's a dangerous man. Very, very dangerous. Next, some other comments in here. Yeah, we're on the same. And then just some other funny ones in here. And then we got another super chat from Hippopotamus, and it is a sticker of a hippopotamus. It says wrecked, and then it is a hippopotamus breaking the chair that it's sitting in, and then apparently getting knocked out because it looks like the eyes go across like it's a Pokemon that's just been KO'd.
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon.
That is something I haven't done for a while that I probably should. I just want to spend a weekend just getting absolutely blitzed and then just watch the original Pokemon series from start to finish.
Honestly, if I get I'm going to be out in New York. Let's see, April or May. I can't remember which one it is, but I'm going to go out and see my sister-in-law out there. She moved out there about 2 years ago. COVID kind of slowed down the whole go out and visit and hang out from 2 years ago, but I need to get out there quite a bit over the course of the next couple of years and just hang out, go spend some time there, and I'll make my way to New Jersey to get high and watch Pokemon.
Come stay at the compound, which also it is really easy to get from my house to New York because I did it the other day. This is the first time I've ever left my house before, but I found out there's a train station nearby. It's within walking distance of my house. It's like a 5-minute walk, and it goes right from there to New York Penn Station.
I love flying into Newark. I love it. I love it so much more than JFK. It's unbelievable. And some people hate it. I love taking the train into the city from Newark. I just love it. It just hits different.
So Newark Airport kind of sucks, but JFK really sucks.
Yeah, JFK. It's more of my damnation on JFK than it is like my admiration for Newark. But I do like taking the train there. It's like 45 minutes or something. It's just a great train in. What's a tough scene, Jordan Klein? I'm sorry, I don't fly private out to New York. Did you just petting up and just
Jordan is a diva. By the way.
Let's go flying.
Jordan is absolutely a diva.
By the way, 100%. Could you imagine Jordan Klein flying first class? Oh, I absolutely can, because I'm pretty sure he only does that. Dude, bro, chill life.
Jordan had what was the plane flight to go to a couple hours to go to our
to Chicago,
retreat, and
he flew first class.
Yeah, had to fly first class. Wouldn't go any other way. He almost didn't show up because he had to fly first class. Absolute diva. It's in his waiver to produce the shows.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Justin Kelly wants to know how long it is to get to Penn State. It's about an hour train ride, which is not bad for my place, especially within walking distance. And then
that's 100% happening now. That's 100% happening.
All right, we're all never mind.
Loco
Negro Loco left us a super chat. I am coming to hang out soon, Greg. You're welcome. Whenever I don't, you don't have to put this information out, but I don't even know where you live. News God, message me on Discord or on Slack, either one. Yeah, always welcome here. Always welcome. All right, let's pull up that Bet Pro now, Jordan.
Let's do it.
By the way, if you guys haven't checked out Bet Pro yet, super easy new tool to use. They have over at Stokastic.com. I've been using it to place NBA bets when I do my NBA videos. I also use it to kind of just back check some of the stuff that I'm looking, make sure like, hey, does this project well for us? Because it's going to have in there all of the best bets across every site based on our projections, expected EV, our numbers compared to the sportsbook numbers. And you just also make sure that you're getting the best line possible. You don't want to be betting like a minus 105 when it's plus money somewhere else. So BetPro has you covered there. And if you're signing up for the first time, you get a 7-day free trial. We've got all the sports books covered, but also we've got NHA in there. We've got Prize Picks in there. And NHA is the sponsor of today's show. We're about to check them out and talk about some of the props that might look good over there. So have you gotten a chance to look at any of these, Eric?
Yes, sir.
I'm pulling it up right now because I don't know what has changed or what hasn't changed since we started. But first glance, is there anything that does really pop out to you on NHA via our Bet Pro tool?
Yeah, the Walker Kessler thing is pretty wild to me, and I totally get it. I've been talking about how incredible this guy is for a while now, constantly tweeting out about him when I have Twitter, making sure that I let it be known how good I think he is at real life basketball. But we haven't seen him play like marked minutes over a long period of time. We saw 31, 32 now, the last two. Maybe he's locked into that role. Maybe he's earned that opportunity. And he's hit it in 4 of his last 5, though, Eric. The huge difference is last game, there was no Lauri Markkanen. Like, that's another big that's just going to be playing a lot of minutes alongside of him there. They could have gone small. They did go small in a number of spots against Minnesota. Watch that brutal basketball game. They set basketball back a couple of years, but Walker Kessler was absolutely incredible. And in Utah had that close win, but like, I'm not just sold that he's going to have this massive 31, 32 minute a roll night, minutes a night roll is what I'm trying to say. Jared Vanderbilt still going to be a part of this rotation, even with Lauri back. He's not going to play crazy minutes if Walker Kessler's out there playing very, very well. But I'm totally with NBA Bet Pro, where I think 10.5 is a large number to be paying. You're getting even money on the over of that. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at the under -120.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big number. What are the overall? You might have mentioned it right there. I missed it. Do we know what are all the averages this year for Walker Kessler as a starter?
What are the overall numbers? I didn't pull it up. I just know that I had him in for 28 minutes tonight.
All right. So here are the
I have him for 9 rebounds, so I'm a little bit more advantageous, just slightly.
Kessler has made 10 starts this year, 27 minutes per game, 10.5 rebounds in those starts. Now, with that said, it is skewed because he had 21 rebounds in his last start. Yeah. Before that, see the number 10.5. I mean, he's hit the under in that in most of his starts, but the average is thrown off a little bit because he had 21 rebounds in his last game that he started. Yeah,
I think it also might be dependent on, think about the iteration of the Clippers on the other side. If Zubac doesn't play, you could be looking at a small ball team by default. Like Moses Brown probably comes into the conversation a little bit, could get like from the cloud start, but for the most part, you're looking at Batum Covington primarily being the 2 bigs out there. They could go to Jared Vanderbilt very, very easily. And sure, if Walker Kessler's out there for 31, 32 minutes, he's going to be in a good spot. But I'm just not sold that that's going to be his role going forward.
Yeah, well, also, if there was any game he was going to play extended minutes, it's when he does whatever he did last time.
Yeah,
right.
It's very true.
In the words of some other people, he nuked the slate.
It was a good troll, but I'm going to keep my head high.
And it's what happened. He absolutely nuked that slate.
Unbelievable. Elon, get your shit together, buddy.
I'm trying to get to a little bit more Trey Lyles now, just because I do have a bunch of exposure to KJ Martin, and we don't have that news yet on whether Sabonis is going to be in or out. But I don't have as much Trey Lyles as I would like. So we're running lineups, giving him a couple of thumbs up there.
I already had 20% of KJ Martin. It's a positional thing. Make sure you're playing him at small forward. If you play him at small forward, if you click the button on Fantasy Cruncher, I'm just kind of making sure that I get to him there. If he shows up in a forward spot or two, it's not the apocalypse, but I'm primarily utilizing him at the small forward spot.
All right. I got some more Trey Lyles now.
There you go. I just think he's a smash if Sabonis doesn't play.
He's in about a third of my lineups now.
Love it. Love it.
So we got him as a priority. Now let's look at some of the other NHA stuff that's going on over at Prize Picks. You had mentioned that the Walker Kessler number there stood out to you. For me, what do I like here? Tyler Hero's been a surprisingly good rebounder this year.
Yep.
His over-under is 4.5. We've been projected for 5.9. Matchup against New Orleans Pelicans. Tyler Hero has been, in and out of games, as has been everybody on the Heat this year. But here's why I think our 5.9 rebound averages, our 5.9 rebound projection is pretty decent for today. Do you know how many rebounds Tyler Hero's averaging per game this year?
7.
5.9.
Okay, you said a big number, so I skewed high.
Well, so his over-under is 4.5. We have him projected for 5.9. He's averaging 5.9 on the nose.
Wild.
4.5 seems a little bit low just based on that. So I could get behind that for sure. Last game, it was the first game back for Tyler Hero. He missed about a week due to an injury. And his first game back, he played 31 minutes. He did have 5 rebounds. So I think that's a number a little bit too low based on the rebound numbers we've seen from Hero this year. So give me Hero.
Everybody losing their mind about Luka. That's funny. The one slate I don't just completely jam him. I'd be okay with the floor. Like I don't know what ownership ended up in like the $15 and the $4, but I gotta imagine that I might be right around it at 30%.
He has 2 points and an assist in the first 2.5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, burn it all down, everybody.
It's a pretty nondescript start.
Yeah. 27.1%. All right. So I'm like fractionally over, but for me, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It was
off to a really big start.
Who?
Trae Young on the other side of the game, 3 minutes in now, 2 points, a rebound, and assist, and 2.
I put him in my single entry lineup. That would be okay with me.
Oh, look at you. DeJounte Murray also 4 points, a rebound, and a steal. And then we've got Christian Wood with 3 points and 2 boards. And then we got the Wizards Knicks game. The Wizards are up 17-5, 3 minutes in against the Knicks. We've got Kristaps Porzingis, 8 points and an assist. This is an insane stat line. We are 3.5 minutes into the first quarter. Kyle Kuzma's four assists, 3 rebounds. Hasn't scored, but 4 assists for him in less than 4 minutes.
Yeah, now 4 rebounds. Yeah, wild. God. 4 and 4.
This guy.
You're that guy, pal. You're that guy.
Crazy counting stats there. Is there anything else from NHA that you want to talk about? Now we could also open this up and just talk about bets from the later games in general.
Yeah, let's take a look at it quick. Again, they're our sponsor. We absolutely love playing over there. Overlay is the name of the game. And then also the versus the house. I've been taking a closer look at this because there have been some good opportunities to be able to react to some news over on NHA. They're obviously giving you some overlay. They're also giving you guys some decent lines. They're also giving you some PGA lines. And that's what I want to kind of lead into over here. They have NBA, college basketball, NHL, PGA, and NFL going right now. Pay attention to where golfers are starting for some of these NHA over-under props because the Nicklaus course, pretty darn easy, and La Quinta Country Club, where they're playing at the American Express, they have 3 courses in the rotation, is extremely easy. One of the easiest golf courses that they play in the entire rotation on the PGA Tour. When they play PGA West, you can go low. You can also shoot a big number, so I'm probably staying away. But pay very close attention because I know on other sites as well, I have already gotten a number of plays in on players who had 4.5 opening birdie props, one of which I believe Keith Mitchell, Killa Keith, starts out over at La Quinta tomorrow. He's at 4.5 birdies there. That is just too damn low.
I don't have any input on golf. So whatever Eric just said, I'm going to agree with him because I believe in Eric. He's my friend. I know that he may or may not be a terrorist, but I'm going to back all of his golf advice.
Not very nice. Once again, why you got to be like that?
I'm just letting people know the risks. Is there anything else you want to bring up here? Because I do have some other prop bets that I like.
Oh, please fire it up for the people. Give the people information and good information, and you're okay at that.
Yeah. So we've got Trey Murphy over under for rebounds today is set at 3.5, and it's also plus money on the over, like pretty good plus money. It is, let's see, what's the best available line for Trey Murphy right now? Plus 118 on over 3.5 rebounds. We've got him projected close to 5. And I think that's pretty reasonable rebound projection for Trey Murphy. I know he's been a little bit inconsistent as of late, but this is a bet that I think wins a little bit more often than it loses. We're looking at probably like 55 to 60% win rate while also having really solid plus money on it. So I think that Trey Murphy, I don't really understand why he's been priced down as much as he has, especially because even though he hasn't always been consistent or shot the ball particularly well, the minutes are there. And that's what's going to be most important when projecting his counting stats. Last 3 games for Trey Murphy, 34 minutes, 35 minutes, 34 minutes. If you look at his numbers overall for the season, Trey Murphy averages right around 4 rebounds per game in less than 30 minutes. He plays 28.5 minutes per game. So they just give him the minutes that he's played the last few. And that's where you get up to that, 5-ish rebound projection. So 3.5 rebounds plus money. I like the over on that.
Love it. Look at you. Trey Murphy's my boy. So you couldn't say anything about Trey Murphy. You could say Trey Murphy was a terrorist and I'd probably still roster him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we play. I've never played an NFL DFS league. Like I'm not playing Tyreek Hill or you gotta play the guys.
Yeah,
I also don't think Trey Murphy's a terrorist.
I do like watching Joe Mixon fail like on Sunday. That was fun.
Well, I don't know about Trey Murphy the second. Trey Murphy the third. That's a stand-up guy. I can't vouch for Trey Murphy the second or the first.
Yeah, me either. But yeah, no, Trey Murphy the third I like very much as a human.
And are there any other? Oh, by the way, this is a fairly high prop as well. Andrew Nemhard's over under for assists is up to 7.5.
Oh yeah, it is. It has been nuked to the top of the board there for sure.
It was when I was looking earlier in the day, it was 6.5, and I was like, okay, whatever. 7.5 is super high for Andrew Nemhard. I know we've seen some big games from him with Tyrese Halliburton now, and Halliburton is going to remain out tonight, and he's going to be out for the next few games as well. But 7.5 is a really, really high number for Nemhard. He hit the over on that last game. It was the first time he did it since December 5th. I know that a lot of those games in the interim, Tyrese Halliburton played, but Halliburton's been out a few games, and we've kind of seen the Pacers favor TJ McConnell a little bit in some of these recent spots. So that 7.5 seems very high to me. What do we have his assist projection at? We've got him at 6.2. Even 6.2 is a little bit aggressive. So 7, I think it's fairly unlikely we see 8 or more assists from Andrew Nemhard. How do you feel about that under?
I'm right there with you. I like the under there. I'm more on the TJ McConnell side. Sorry, Jesse. Very much on the TJ McConnell side today.
You don't have to apologize to people that aren't watching.
He's definitely watching. He's always watching. Look at the baby. Look at the baby.
Super chat from Hippopotamus again. Before you gentlemen bounce, can you please do a quick recap of what you expect to do with the news later tonight? I have a lot of late spots left for late swapping. Number one, that is what you should be doing. I know who Hippopotamus is, but I don't want to out him. Maybe he just wants to be Hippopotamus.
Okay. Well, how about we just do the news thing? We'll just answer his damn question. That seems good. All right. Let's start with the first game. So this is like a progression thing. Actually, let's start with the latest piece of news, because if you have those lineups it's all the timing of when things happen. I don't think people realize that enough in NBA DFS. We talk about late swap all the time, but how do you actively utilize it? It's generally by inferring that there's going to be some type of news or value that emerges and to be able to react to it. And so with Sacramento, Domantas Sabonis, questionable. If he ends up being out, you're looking at Trey Lyles, perhaps a 3K guy on that center spot, but primarily it's De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk. Those are the three that I've nuked. I have a ton of them at the moment. Then you go backwards to Minnesota. You have Anthony Edwards a little bit later there. If the news comes out where Sacramento, Domantas Sabonis is out, and it happens before the Minnesota-Denver game, and you have Anthony Edwards in, then I like only Naz Reid basically from that game. If you get Anthony Edwards out, get as much D'Angelo Russell in your life as you possibly can. You're just fine getting to McDaniels. I would want a lot of Kyle Anderson. I think he goes a little bit under the radar. Rebounding rate coming up also. That is expected without Cat and Rudy Gobert out on the floor, but I would get to tons of him. I would make sure that I had 100% Naz Reid under all circumstances, and then we move along to the Clippers in Utah. If you see a starting lineup where Amir Coffey's in there, I do not prioritize him over anything that I've already said. So there you go. Amir Coffey is just a dude who can fall into a couple of lineups. Zubats being the main piece of news that we're waiting on there. Robert Covington could end up getting the start at the 5. I assume they're probably going to go Moses Brown, but that's just not really that interesting to me. I would much rather just save some of those lineups for a little bit later. Hour and a half until the Sacramento-Los Angeles game. If you find out Sabonis news before that Clippers game, you can kind of do whatever you want.
I'm actually not sure if Moses Brown is even with the team.
That's what I'm saying. There was a report where he was like possibly going to get in from the G League, but it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah, so Moses Brown, at least as of now.
Otherwise, it would be Diabate, and I would rather have diabetes than roster Diabate.
There we go. I mean, one is going to cost you a few dollars potentially. The other one is life-changing, right? Those are the stands you have to take sometimes to make money at DFS. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand. Going over the injuries that we have for tonight. I'm assuming Sabonis doesn't play. So I've gone ahead. I'm playing a bunch of De'Aaron Fox. I've got Trey Lyles in there. And So right now, I built my lineups assuming Sabonis isn't going to play, right? So that's my current stance on him. LeBron, I'm assuming he does play. Anthony Edwards, I have absolutely no clue. I agree with what you said before. If he does end up getting, I haven't made any kind of provisions about Anthony Edwards being out, right? I've just kind of got him in right now. If he does sit, I totally agree with you. D'Angelo Russell. I can't play more of Naz Reid. I love Naz Reid. Naz Reid would project better if Edwards is to be ruled out, but he's somebody who already should be in your lineups and projecting well anyway. If Zubac sits, I'd be playing more Covington, playing more Nick Batum.
Yeah, Moses Brown out. It was Diabate that I was thinking of was the guy that they were trying to get in. I think that was the thing that the report. Again, I have to use Twitter.
Moses Brown is questionable as well.
Moses Brown is questionable. Okay, is Diabate with the team? Can you look on Twitter for me?
Oh, why can't you do it? Oh, sorry. Okay, Jordan's kicking us off. We're not allowed to stay anymore. Jordan has laid down the hammer. Guys, thank you very much for sticking around. If you haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to NHA for sponsoring the show tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow. Good luck today.